Hello, everyone, and welcome on back to Smite Prime's second week of the September circuit here, where the plays are always a premium. I'm your hostess with the mostest, D-Lo, here to cover the madness. Joined with me in the booth, as always, got my friend Musy right by my side. Actually, boots to the ground, in the trenches himself, the Smite map right behind him. Almighty eyes in the sky, Tess and the Morton man keeping the prod lights on in the cam steady. Jithins and basically Billy, your men behind the curtain. Musy, another week, another prime. How we feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good, D'Lo. I'm excited to kind of jump into this and see how things are going to change in this week's landscape as opposed to last week, just because last week was very chaotic. It was different from what we were used to seeing. Like, Clocked In knocked out round one. Smite 2 Bad Boys end up taking the whole week because, you know, there was a dropout from Cherry Slush. So it's curious to see how are we going to move forward from that.
The landscape might be different, but the prizing is going to remain the same, and it is some high-stakes action there, baby. For the September circuit, we have $7,000 cash prize to be doled on up, alongside that $125K of diamonds there. A girl's best friend, also a Smite player's best friend. A lot of new cool skins coming through here, so you want to make sure you can get them while you can.
And we also have a fun new interactive game for everybody to play here on Smite Prime with our Smite Prime Bingo card. Gonna get our eyes on this. So if you want to play first, you know, of course, you got the words right there on the screen. Go and visit Smite Prime tournament page at smiteprime.com. Log into the website with your Discord. You can check out the board and then mark off tiles as each of these events happen on a broadcast. You've played bingo before. Just make sure that you do join the Smite Prime Discord, because if you get 5 in a row, the first 2 people to report it will be able to go to that hashtag bingo channel and get yourself a prize.
And if you slip us a cool $20, we'll put our Venmo down below. You can maybe get us to check off those casters boxes that you're looking for, maybe, you know, just to help y'all out. Casters call a match too early, 5 minutes. Yeah, Cherry Slush win. Just instantly. Nonetheless,
Casters
the prizing,
go
what's
off on
on
a
tap.
tangent.
Yeah, let's talk about my breakfast for today. Actually, nothing. I'm really hungry. Bingo, though, does have some pretty good rewards of its own right. Overseer Cerberus and that Infinite Duality Agni, 2 really cool Cerebral and Astral skins that you can launch out of this world and into your account. That being said, who's going to be playing in the actual game? That remains to be seen. The bracket coming up at you in just a moment. And there's plenty of stuff to talk about there. Again, we talked about the idea that last week. The natural pecking order, Musy, got a bit changed up. Who are you seeing here? What matchups are you eyeing that have caught your attention?
Well, I do see a few new names here, and a couple of returning ones that maybe we didn't get a chance to see last week. Unterwassermani up against, you know, High Velocity, who did pretty well in the last week. Never had a chance to see them on the big screen, but they proceeded a lot more than we thought they would. And then, you know, Twitch.tv, Crazy Kieran, you know, up against Dauncey. That's going to be a tough go. But, hey, if we had crazy upsets last week, wouldn't be surprised to see some crazy upsets this week. My eyes are really on that 800 GPM team, the adapting team that never had a chance to get off the ground. Are they going to be able to make it happen? But they're up against Welcome to the Glungle, which is going to be that Globe team. So already a lot of good matches here for everybody to be able to see. But I know where our eyes are going to be.
It's going to be on Green Eggs and Ham up against Clocked In. And Clocked In, Musy, they got knocked out first round last time. So a lot right on the line to make sure that they retake their spot at the top. P's and B's coming at you here. What should we expect for? What should we hope? What should we fear?
So there are some changes in the ban content, so we don't have to worry about the Aegis bug anymore. So Aegis plus Talisman is going to be back in the mix. So
that's nice.
You don't have to stress out as much about CC. But when it comes to CC, you know who you do have to stress out about? Ares, also going to be available to play. Jormungandr's back in the mix as well, but if I'm being honest, I don't see him. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel. Jormungandr, you know, you play him over in solo lane. What does he offer you? Damage, a little bit of CC, but not enough to feel threatening. Not like that Ares or like some of the other big heavy hitters we had in that solo lane. Int scaling Wukong still feels incredibly strong. And you also have things like Chalk that has fallen from grace, but is still effective when it comes to just kind of offering a big ultimate in a team fight. But really it comes down to things like Merlin, like Neith, some of the best mid laners in the game, which is where I think a lot of focus is going to be for these early picks and bans.
And we also got to mention the Aladdin's no longer comp banned, but is banned in this game. Green Eggs and Ham say, yeah, we're good off that. I think Paul playing Aladdin,
no more.
I think we're good off that. And that makes complete sense. So far, we're kind of getting the rhythm and rhyme of the staples so far. I think that you could maybe look at the Yamoja. There's some other good mid lane picks as well. Paul can really operate well on that Merlin. But Green Eggs and Ham, of course, have that first pick. I'm curious to see if they decide to prioritize that Wukong like many a team did last time around, or maybe their eye wanders elsewhere.
There are, like you said, the Merlin pick is going to be really highly contested, especially for Paul. But Paul is also known for being able to pull out something like a Vulcan or even a Pele. It's kind of hard to ban out Paul's god Ocean, right? You have to sort of think to yourself, what are we going to take off the board instead? And I'm looking maybe to see if we can put Tagveer off of their mark, maybe see if there's anything we can take away from Hydrogen, who did so ridiculously well. I mean, not last week because Clockton got knocked out, but, in the last circuit, I feel like we were saying Hydrogen's name over and over and over again. So I feel like maybe that's something we could take off the board, early pick a Hu Yi away or just see if there's any piece to take off.
Well, we're taking off the Susano. Yamoja we talked about, that's also going to be knocked off by Clocked In. But Musi, you had an interesting point about Susano, and I want to let you walk us through it before anyone else can say otherwise. Susano, is that worth a ban, you think?
I'm kind of split. I think Susano has lost a lot of his lethality in the late game with that ultimate change. The fact that you have to charge the tornado all the way up in order to get that knockup makes it so that his 1v1s are a little bit scarier. You are trying to play with a couple extra seconds to get that ultimate going to be able to really get all of your burst damage out on top of the target, right? So leading with the ultimate is not as strong. And if you're not leading with an ultimate in Susano, if you don't have that CC to really set up everything else, I think that makes him very dangerous to play, makes him not as appetizing as maybe some of the other junglers out there. But if you can operate a Susano pick, if you can make it look good, Susano players will just make him look S tier no matter what's going on.
S tier mid laner, we talked about it, you're seeing it. Merlin can be the first pick up there because Clocked In banned. The Agni, Sun Wukong, the instant counter. Yeah,
I mean, Kong can be either this ant scaling pick, or you can have him do more of like the lifesteal, the lash item still really good with Devos, something like that. That's still a support almost assuredly for Happen. It's another pick that has had kind of a chance to be like, wow, look at this fresh new mid laner. Wrong. Build Yogi's necklace. You're a frontliner now. And the big thing that makes her so good is the fact that you have a ranged root and cripple, plus Scylla damage, an ultimate that could just be up whenever you want it because of the way that the passive works, like all the mana. So I feel like there's just a lot of value with that pick.
Thor and Sun Wukong, I think, were dueling for being the most highly contested physical gods in the last weeks of the circuit, and we're seeing that be picked up alongside a different monkey god, the Hoon bots for Green Eggs and Ham. A lot of great team fight potential I'm seeing here, and also some great CC on demand, especially from that Thor. Curious to see if the bots go stun.
I feel like the one instance where we see stun bots is if Green Eggs and Ham doesn't pick up more CC to go with their already heavy CC comp. But if you have set up from Thor, if you have set up from Merlin, and you have another support you can throw out there to just offer your CC, I'm thinking Sobek, or, maybe even, I've been seeing a lot of Khepri show up every now and then.
That's true.
Not my favorite pick, but hey, an Abduct is going to be an Abduct. So you don't need stun bots. You can confirm your damage and just release that Fear No Evil and just get a lot of value off that.
Achilles being locked in alongside the Artemis. The A-team joins the S squad for Clocked In. And I'm seeing definitely a lot of decent CC that can apply in the team fight. I'm also seeing some great reactionary CC from their side. Sun Wukong, of course, can shrug off a lot of that damage with Somersault Cloud, gets CC immune, gets up in the sky. And Artemis has one of the best counter-engage ultimates in the entire game with that boar.
I really like this Artemis pickup. When you see the Thor and the Hun bats, you're immediately going, okay, I'm sensing a little bit of dive potential here. Thor obviously doesn't have to commit as much. He's got that wall, it's range CC, it's fine, but the Humbats has to get in there and has to get on top of you. So being able to pop that Caledonian Boar and just say, hey, boom, right? You can't jump on me, but also think of how much range Clocked In has already. If that's an Int Wukong, that cudgel is very long. You also have ranged crippled roots, and then now this Artemis that can't be jumped on.
Cool.
Hecate can be an excellent mage to be able to just long range bombard you. It feels like Clocked In it wants to play a little bit as like a back bombarder squad.
They are going full in with that backline heavy approach. Like you said, Hecate being locked in really confirms that to me. Again, a character who's got a great reactionary ultimate to get themselves out of a sticky situation with to open the gates. When you mentioned DiveCon for Green Eggs and Ham, instantly I thought Cabrakan, and then they locked it in. Dang it, I should have said it past deal. You would have sounded so dang smart, but I didn't, and they locked it. So, Cabrakan, awesome. More walls, more walls. Hoi, more walls, more walls. That opened the gates. It can get you past it, but it takes a bit of time for the portal to open up and for you to enter the slipstream. You could be in some trouble if the sun is blocking your path. You might need to pick up some shells.
Shells, or even if you're, I would see it for maybe Wukong or maybe a Scylla if you're a tank. The Helm of Darkness, being able to offer you that shell-like effect, being able to walk through us would be very handy, but the Cabrakan pick is extremely intelligent here. I like that from Green Eggs in Hand, because what is Artemis specifically going to do against that wall? She's gonna die. Right? She hates
dude.
walls. She hates the geography. So this dual lane gets very scary for this Artemis if Clocked In gets engaged on and they don't have the tools to be able to properly shove off Green Eggs and Ham. They're going to be in a very dire situation.
Well, we're going to have to find out what the rhythm and the rhyme is of this children's book, or will it end up being a horror story instead? We'll hop into game and find out. Green Eggs and Ham up against Clocked In. First round elimed last time around. Clocked In have got a lot to try to live up to make sure they don't meet the same fate.
Already, my eye is wandering across some of the early starts. The items, of course, we have that Scylla support. You see that war flag standing next to Hydrogen. That's kind of what we expected. I'm really curious to see how this blink works out for Tegvir. Not having beads for your Achilles. You have a CC Moon ultimate, yes, but you can still get caught out quite a bit if they're standing too close to either moods or, if Purging is just around the corner with that wall. The Achilles isn't going to be too terribly tanky unless we're opting for more like a bruiser style. So kind of keep your eyes on Tegvir, see how they're positioning. They're never going to be walking front, straight, and center. Definitely need like a side angle in order to come at some of these squishies.
Sun Wukong actually used their bees in the fountain. You have to make sure that they're functional, otherwise the warranty expires in like 5 seconds.
Yes.
You got to make sure you don't want to return it back to the Amazon shipping store. But nonetheless, 70 seconds without it, I think they'll be just fine. What I am noticing is that Achilles has got a blink and nary a shell on Clocked inside.
Yes. So in that same sentence, we talking about these relics, it feels like Clocked In aren't as worried about the walls, the geography from Green Eggs and Ham. So I'm wondering, at what point is that going to start to be relevant? Really looking over at that dual lane. The Cabrakan into the Artemis specifically, at least at the start of this game, is going to be kind of a tipping point. Level 5 is very important for Green Eggs and Ham. They're going to try to accelerate and get to that point as soon as they can. And when you have this Hou Yi Cabrakan combination, you have a fair amount of priority there just because Cabrakan just uses so many abilities on the wave. And I feel like Artemis' Clear is not as strong as Drunk Diplomats when it comes to the Ricochet versus that Suppress the Insolent.
Scylla definitely can help to equalize that a little bit, but so far the pressure is spelling in favor of Clocked In. Also, we had a conversation, Musi, earlier before the stream even got to get going in the green room about what this game plan for most competitive teams looks like right now. And it's one that I think very much aligns with what Clocked In like to do, because a lot of the pressure, a lot of the focus is on playing through that mid lane.
Yes, and it really does feel like once your mid laner gets that Rod of Tahuti online, you are skyrocketing ahead to objectives abound. But in the first few early minutes, you don't have that option available. You're trying to make sure that that Rod is going to be able to have that spike you're looking for. You need to get ahead. You need to get farmed. And if you're the enemy team, you're trying to put them down sooner rather than later.
See if they can try to get someone on the kill board. So far, Achilles is really the only one trying to look for a bruising, but the Humbots is not going to give it to them just yet. Solo lane side, this could be an interesting one. I feel like we've multiple times said, oh yeah, Sun Wukong, like they just don't die. Then they kind of get stomped in the laning phase versus a Thor. How does that shake up?
So it depends on how we're trying to play this Wukong. If you're going that in-scaling Wukong, you're just going for the late game. You don't really care too much about the lane itself. But with this Bluestone and a Warrior's Axe start, it does lend you to be a bit more aggressive. But with that aggression comes forward positioning. And you see this Hun Bots over on the side wondering if maybe he can take a bite out of Crime.
Monkey God versus Monkey God. It seems that Snicks respects their fellow co-worker a bit too much to put Karmic in the dirt quite just yet. And Karmic's a really impactful player of Clocked In also. We talk about Paul a lot, and with good reason, but Karmic can very much have carry potential if they start to build a head of steam. Achilles has their head in the game on this left lane here, trying to maybe take advantage of Cabrakan's lack of mobility. The frame one dash from the Hou Yi going to keep them safe, but the Cabrakan's the real target. Luckily, slow immunity going to walk right through that crush and out of danger.
The ranged cripple root that Scylla is so strong for in this support role. Didn't get a chance to see that come out, but the blink already being very a threatening gesture from Tagveer, especially for characters like Cabrakan who don't have immediate answers to it. You have to like turn around, get the stun, get this Achilles off of you, but CC buffer, you're gonna get stunned regardless. So Tagveer is a very threatening player to have over in your side lane, and he's looking to go for it again.
Yeah, let's try to put it on repeat. The combat dodge away once the Mark of the Crow is applied, a bit too scary. Does get the stun off, but the purple buff seems to be the real objective. One that Green Eggs and Ham are going to have to just allow to go to the wayside. The Merlin is making a bit of a show of face, but just considering it more than actually going to commit to the bit. So that's a solid invade for Clocked In.
I do like this type of play from Clocked In, just looking for those small victories, asking small questions, just having Tagveer show up and say, hey, I'm going to show up, I'm going to blink on you, and I'm going to try to kill you. How do you come back from this? And Great Eggs' Ham is like, well, we're going to shove that off. It's not a big deal. Okay, I'm coming back. I'm going to take your purple. What word from your jungler? And Great Eggs' Ham is like, none? Our Humbots
we'll get back to you.
Okay, cool. This is mine. Okay. Yeah, don't forget your lunch money, jerk. Okay. So I want a chocolate and a white milk for when I get lunch. I like to mix them together so I can have a better mixed chocolate milk. Okay.
Tell your mom to save me a plate.
Tell your mom I said hello. Coming over for dinner later.
Oh, God, man. It does feel a bit disrespectful, right? Especially when you have that aggression with the Cab and the Hou Yi on that left side. But level 5s maybe open up a different possibility. But now we're going to have a speed buff as well. Tell your dad I said hello, too. Okay.
2025. Like.
Yeah, man.
So,
gotta stay woke.
Parent conference. But already, I feel like Clocked In have had pretty solid control over the map, just in terms of these little victories, these tiny farming moments, which is what you need. We're trying to propel ourselves towards that mid to late game stage. And I say mid-late game and not late game, because anything past 24 minutes becomes a bit of a coin flip. You let your enemy get to a point where they can stand up to you. Clocked In is trying to secure farms so we can get that ball rolling with early Gold Furies, try to get those pips, which I feel like have kind of, the conversation about the Gold Fury pips have fallen to the wayside. I had a moment this morning where I'm like, dude, these things are broken. Can we talk about these a little bit more? Can we have face faster, better minions, more objective damage, be it like towers and stuff like that? Like, that's kind of ridiculous. We got to put more focus on that.
So they're trying to put that focus with the cripple like you asked, but just can't quite find it. 5 minutes, 0 kills apiece. A small 1,000 gold lead there goes to Clocked In, thanks to their superior farming. But Musi, when this game is played so passively, who is winning? Who is happy and who is annoyed besides me?
So when it C1 over here hates the passive play, but
what am I supposed to do?
I mean, Drunk Diplomat's taking a bit of damage. Shoutouts to the Life Binder from Happen. Just a lot of sustain, a little bit of extra damage. But I think Clocked In comes out on top. Just because they have a fair amount of scaling picks, be it the Kate, the Wukong, they're just trying to get that Scylla up and running. Green Eggs and Ham want to try to stop that.
Yeah, Scylla's up and running maybe a bit too far. But the first stun does not find it. They didn't have the full refraction stacks on that too, which means only going to find a bit of damage. Now Moods. Maybe he's going to be in a bit of a spot of bother themselves. Finds the walls on top of the Scylla, though, who does have that dash. Kind of shrugs it off, says, all right, I like what you did with the place. Cool landscaping. Sun's going to drop down and I believe deny the steal attempt as Clocked In really have decided that Gold Fury, nah, purple buff's where it's really at. Oh,
well, and they weren't even able to confirm the purple buff. Sunder was popped by Happen. So they walk away with it, and that's 2 ultimates used for this small little skirmish. Clocked In have kind of stressed out Green Eggs and Ham here, and this opens up a possibility for a Gold Fury pull. Clocked In's already on top of it.
Yeah, they're saying, all right, what are you guys going to do about it? We're consistently asking the question of when will you aggress? Cabrakan has got reason to do so, has Sunder in pocket now, and they know that it's been wasted on the purple buff on the other side, but Clocked In, it seems, are looking for the fight. We'll give you one. Great Fear No Evil brings the first blood on top of Tegveer. The portal only going to be able to bring back in Drunk Diplomat, but that frame 1 dash instantly going to be hit by a frame 2 pause. They say, no, we were winning the entire game. How could this be? Tegveer dies? No, pause. Something's wrong.
And we gotta call back all the way over to the start of the game. Tegveer has Blink, not Beads. This Hunbats might not be a stun bats, but they do have a healthy amount of CC with that Fear No Evil. If this Achilles can't pre-ult that totem, they get deleted every single time. There's not a whole lot that they can do about that. So, and I really like the play from Clocked In to try to bait in Green Eggs and Ham, pull the Gold Fury, just to force a fight, just to get them to come out of their shell a little bit instead of trying to skirmish around these purple buffs. But it all just turns on top of their head because of one relic. You have to stay aware. You have to respect the CC. I'm sensing a Magi's Cloak in this Achilles future. Like, if he doesn't have that, he's gonna happen. It's gonna happen every single time.
That's a really great point. The fact that there's so much great CC on that team, and between the Cabrakan, multiple stuns being layered on top, you really don't have much going on until you decide to pop that item. But that item usually doesn't come until like mid to late game. So Achilles is gonna have to do a bit more wondering of, man, maybe I should have tested out my relic like the Sun Wukong did and returned it after the 1 day shift back. Maybe you should have been the one reconsidering your purchase, but instead you kind of gotta sleep in the bed that you made at this point. So what can we see from Clocked In that case to leverage their aggression? Because clearly they now kind of want to start that ball rolling. How do they play that fight better?
If there's a target that we look for first, I'm looking at that Hunbats, or just seeing if maybe we can bait out that totem, that Fear No Evil, before the fight starts, which is a bit of a tall ask if you're that Hunbats in that situation. You know that's what Clocked is looking for. You have to hold on to your trump card there. You need to maybe see what else you can make happen. Again, I said before, the Achilles shouldn't be that front line, quote unquote. He shouldn't be leading the charge, right? He needs to come in from the side. He needs to look for that off angle and let the Scylla do their work with these range roots and cripples, maybe throw down that crush, a little bit of a slow field, prod tread. Like, that's what you need to look for.
Hopefully we can start to see it, and hopefully soon we can see a game coming back to us in just a bit. You talk about the importance of those Sikkim Crush combos, but we haven't really gotten to see the Sikkim land quite too often. And when you look at their options of mobility, how many they have, that Hoi Yi dash, right? You kind of want to wait for that to be down, I feel like, before you try to apply the Sikkim, just because it can react so quick. But once it does, he's toast. Even it does hit, and he has that dash, it does not matter. You are toast. So you kind of need to see the Scylla do its Scylla thing. We so far have not gotten that layering of CC that results in deaths.
There is a certain level of mechanics that are required in order to make this pick work, because the moment you can't consistently land that root, it's a dead character. That is not doing what you need to do. It's not doing what you want it to do. Yeah, it's like, uh-oh. So we get a chance to pop back in as Clocked In, take a little bit of a stumble. Ham looks for more.
Thor pops back in and instantly says, I was in the neighborhood, just wanted to stop by. Whoa, okay, you have company over. I'll come back later. TP's right back out. And here's the thing that we've talked about before on Smite Prime. I believe it was Malum who said it. Happen struggles historically with back line supports. Now, Scylla, of course, has the option to dash aggressively, but in general, she is still that mage-like character, so she's not going to be the one who's first up in the fray.
Yeah, and that is a tough position to be in. Hydrant's taking a lot of poke on that left side, though. Looks like the Artemis will be able to get away. A little scary for a second, but I agree with you. Happen on this pick, I think, is going to struggle. I think we're already seeing that struggle for this Scylla. Is Karmic? No, he's fine.
I don't know, man. There's a Hunbats waiting in the wings. Don't quite know if Karmic's aware. Ultimate is not back online for Snicks, and Sun Wukong has the open path on the right side. Achilles now going to show their face, but only going to see the backside of that Hunbats as he takes that gold camp.
But you do see the rotation coming in here from Tegveer. Their Blink is back online. Maybe they can make something happen in that solo lane. But
not too much to have for it. I mean, the Thor was low, so I appreciate that they wanted to try to grab that threshold, which is a big thing. Right now you have the Fatal Strike online for Tegveer. Once people drop down to 35% health, that's all I need.
And, you know, speaking of Tegvir too, I really want to point out this Learning Bow first build for this Achilles. And this is tech, by the way. This is really cool. Because part of what made Learning Bow so good for ADCs was being able to confirm the damage off of a stun. There is no easier stun confirm in the world than a shield bash. It's a giant semicircle in front of you, stand on top of them, press Learning Bow, they die. Scales off of your basic attack damage, it's a lot.
Whoa, great steal there from
He stole
Happen
it.
with the Sunder. Takes that Naga. You really just can't have anything in Detroit. 9 minutes into this game. Still only 1 kill on the board. It is to Green Eggs and Ham, but the objective pressure is spelling so far for Clocked In. About 1,700 gold ahead, so it's growing in small increments, but nothing untenable. That being said, like you mentioned, Musi, it's a ticking time bomb. Clocked In are putting Green Eggs and Ham on the clock themselves.
Gotta make sure that you don't get overcooked, otherwise you end up hard-boiled eggs, which, you know, to each their own. I like a good hard-boiled eggs, but I don't think that's how Green Eggs and Ham want to be turning out here.
High in protein.
As we talk about Happen on this, you know, Scylla pick, I'll tell you what, their Sunders have been on point. They have stolen a purple buff, they have stolen a Queen Naga. So if I'm Moods, there's suddenly a lot of pressure on me to perform when it's my turn to walk up to an objective to make sure that I can confirm it for my team.
Get a bit of stage fright there. A shy Sunderer. It happens. And I don't think we've actually, maybe they really are, because I don't think we've seen that Sunderer even once, but we are seeing that Totem come back out. The beads from Karmic in response, but a staff slam quickly puts an end to that nonsense. Knock off that monkey business Karmic, and they're knocked off the map.
But that does mean that Clocked In can move over towards this Gold Fury, knowing that Hunbots is going to be on that other side of the map, so can
Sunder shy.
Green Eggs have a response?
Moose has it, but is too afraid to use it. Instead, it's going to be Happen. Who secures that? No Sunder necessary. That is the secure queen right there on this Scylla. Moods lies in wait, has the damage to drop on top. What a great Cersei's Hexstone to immune the CC from that open the gates and keep yourself safe. Unfortunately means the Hecate stays alive too.
This is a great open the gates as well from Happen, or rather from Paul. So many mages. But and that's one of the things that we talked about in picks and bans of what makes this Hecate pick so valuable, the ability to get yourself out of danger when those Cabrakan walls show up. That's part of the reason why I'm really looking at Moods to put pressure on top of Hydrogen, because this Hecate realistically should be able to get away every time. They have Sansa time and a Chronos pendant, so that ultimate is going to be up whenever Moods has their ultimate up, realistically. You also have this Gem of Focus here that offers a lot of mobility to this Hecate, so you're not even going to be able to catch them, realistically.
Here I come, and here I go right back, because instantly any damage you're about to apply, especially when these two combine, right? The Hecate, that Dispel Magic, that shield actually provides so much additional safety there for Happen. Finally starting to hit these cripples. It's training practice, just trying to make sure we got the aim down for the important moments, and so far I'm convinced. As Clocked In begin to look around this Pyromancer, will the secure queen do it once again?
Well, Happen does still have their Sunder should they need it, but it looks like Clocked In's getting jumped on.
Once again, to open the gates barely saves Paul, but so much was expended on them. Green Eggs and Ham don't have anything left for the fight right after. Dest has got no life left. Tegvir will have their head. No Pyromancer, but that's A-OK. The real focus is on the fight. Does seem that Thor is able to escape courtesy of that Anvil of Dawn. They consider going back in, but might not be the wisest choice. Clocked In might not be leading on the kill board, but they seem to be driving the pace of the game overall.
They are playing the game by their standards. They even picked up the Pyromancer yet again. And it looks like Green Eggs and Ham can't even contest it too much. It's a good call out. They're controlling the pace of the game, and the way that they're able to do it is through just space control, it feels like, and that safety that we were talking about before. The fact that Paul isn't in any realistic danger, and Happen is so annoying to deal with. And Tegvir is kind of online at this point now that they have that Hydra's Lament plus Learning Bow combo, where you stun, pop your Learning Bow, you get your auto attack in there, and then at that point, anybody else is half health. And then you're still Achilles, so you put somebody to half health. What are you going to follow that up with?
Not much. Not much in that scenario. It doesn't really seem like you've got a lot of cards that Green Eggs and Ham can play in this moment, because they're just kind of satisfied with not having any hands on the steering wheel. They're the passenger princesses, and Clocked In have got both hands firmly at 10 and 2. Hoonbots got to try to retreat back and cover their 6. So far, if you look at the level leads across the board, this Hui Yi is a bit ahead of the Artemis opposition, but not too big of a dividend. So who is Green Eggs and Ham's best hope?
I'm still looking at Moods to set things up and put pressure on top of Hydrogen. That's really where I feel like the danger has to come from in order to lock down this Artemis, because you can't kill Paul. It's not going to happen unless you really want to confirm a lot of resources into there. Otherwise, if I'm, Snyx, I'm looking over at Tegvir. I know I've got the ultimate. I should be able to kill this Achilles fairly quickly and efficiently. The fact that they have no beads is another element that I can abuse there. But these Cabrakan walls to me are so important and so vital. We should be able to catch somebody out.
Moods has made a reappearance. It's a bit of a return to the laning phase as both supports decide to see how their children are doing. Not too great in math. Maybe help your way out with their math homework. Trigonometry is just a bit off. But nonetheless, I do appreciate the attempt from Junk Dip. Also worth noting, Green Eggs and Ham, as far as the players here, the names that you might be seeing, maybe not everyone's going to recognize them, but these are players that have got a significant amount of time in the amateur competitive scene. Drunk Diplomat has played alongside names such as Sunprod and Killcam Kenny, many other rising names that are starting to make their legacy known in the Smite Prime scene. So definitely don't discount them. 15 minutes in, 2-1. They're at least ahead on the kill board and only about 3K behind. Not too shabby.
It does feel like this game is going to be one of those late game coin flips, just because Clocked In hasn't had a chance to make significant strides in advancing the lead, right? There's one Gold Fury taken off the board, one Pyromancer taken off the board, but those Gold Fury pips are increasingly important. You want to put more pressure on that and really try to see what you can do about this Gold Fury. With this rotation from Karmic, I feel like this could be a moment.
Decent poke applied to the Scylla, so you won't maybe have your secure queen in the highest of health standings, but the Hoonbots could be in a spot of bother. Has to leap back right into the other Monkey King. Merlin's here to provide a bit of assistance. I do not think you're eating through that health bar, though. Snyx is going to get nixed. One more kill for Clocked In, and they can look for the Fury.
That movement from Karmic is going to open that up. You do have a few tools available, noticeably Purging in the sky, looking for a target.
Mood is a bit distracted, and that Sunder is going to be necessary. Drops down the walls, but Sun Wukong can just leap on right over them. The Suns come crashing down, and Drunk Diplomat will fall beneath them. Tegvir on the killing spree. A great boar, and the Ox on top. It's an animal stampede here. But who will end up falling at the end when it's all said and done? Purging is that answer. Abid shrugs off the open the gates, but Paul wants it all, and they will have it. A double kill on Desta. Deicide for Clocked In. Gold Fury certainly next.
Even as I start saying Clocked In needs to advance this game, they immediately make it happen. That rotation from Karmic puts a lot of pressure over in that mid lane, and it did feel like Happen and Hydrogen were getting a fair amount of poke off in that duo. It felt like the stars kind of aligned for Clocked In there with these rotations. Also really starting to show that these giant circles, be it from Paul, from Happen, from Hydrogen, even from Karmic, easy applied damage, easy applied CC. It just makes the game easier on yourself. So Clocked In walk away with that Gold Fury. Now they're going to take a look at that Pyromancer.
Moods does step up. Sunder potential nonetheless goes to Happen. Oh my god. It doesn't even matter if they don't have a Sunder. Happen just has a passive buff. The second pip just says you get every objective in the game for free.
That is what it feels like. It was the moment because they dropped the Pyromancer. There was a moment of panic as Moods walks up. Happen makes the call. No, I got it. And they do, in fact, have that dog in them. So now, Green Eggs and Ham, the mentals at this point, I feel, are just really low. You haven't been able to confirm anything. You haven't been able to put up too much of a fight. The kill lead goes to Clocked In. Gotta start making some plays on the map. Gotta figure out where you can leverage your aggression.
Yeah, at least before you felt like you were winning in some capacity. At least you're winning in the not dying to open the gates trade. That feels good. Paul going to try to split the difference, but instead comes up with empty hands. Hoonbots is winding around, but it seems they're picking a fight with the Achilles more than anything. Yeah, 18 minutes in, we're just bleeding. It's not death by one mortal blow. It's a solid series of paper cuts that are slowly bleeding Green Eggs and Ham dry. About, what, 7K down? That's rough.
And the damage is going to start to get exponentially worse. The Ratatouille is online for Paul, so this Hecate is dealing a lot of damage. Purging goes
What
down.
Are you doing there, Hydrogen?
Rotates over to that solo lane. she's out there exploring the world, opening up this fire giant pit for Clocked In. Maybe see if they can bait in Green Eggs and Ham to a fight here. Remember, if Green Eggs and Ham walks up to this pit, Clocked In just gets off of it, kills them, and goes back to FG. So it's honestly a rock and a hard place.
Artemelia Earhart here, traveling coast to coast to travel the world. Hopefully things end up better for her than they did their former namesake. But Moods getting Cersei's Hexstone out. Thanks to the Fear and Weevil, they got solid cover, but they can't quite complete the kills. And now Karmic's being hunting them down. Snyx is going to fall once more. Dest can only watch in horror. Around the back, I don't know what Moods is doing playing in the bushes. Sun Wukong is not going to take too kindly to it, but Dest might be able to get a kill off the bait. Unfortunately, not able to even get that. And FG goes to all 5 members of Clocked In. Consolation prize, that tier 2 in the left by the Hoi Yi.
It was a beautiful ultimate from Hunt Bots. You see Paul keeps up the aggression as well. Do you go in for Moods? He's level 12. What do you want him for?
Yeah, leave him be. Instead, we'll go for the juicier target, Drunk Diplomat. Got a big target on their back, a bounty on their head. And you might want to be stone cold sober for this moment. Maybe drunk to numb the pain as Tegvir drops them once again. You at least got the tier 2. That feels okay, but a tier 1's going to be the just compensation in mid.
And I said it before, Snyx had a great ultimate with Humbots, but the damage is just not there because Green Eggs and Ham is just so far behind. 2 gold for pips, controlling the small victories on the map. Clocked In have been working towards this, and now that we're here at that 20 minute mark or so, this mid-late game section, this is where Clocked In really start to hone in and try to find what advantages they can. Look for Phoenixes, look for towers, so that Green Eggs and Ham can't get back up.
Hey, Musi, look what that Achilles is wearing. Look at his threads. Looking good with that Magi's cloak. Unfortunately, can't say the same for Green Eggs and Ham, who are looking like they're going to be rocking tombstones in a second. Tegvir brings down Snyx in the 1v1, and the mid lane fight fares no better as they have to go back home.
It's going to be a dire defense from Green Eggs and Ham here. Levels are too low. The gold, the items is not there. Clocked In is really starting to snowball away far beyond the uh-oh territory that we all know and love from Ztan. It is just collapsing underneath Green Eggs and Ham. And at this stage of the game, you're really looking for a miracle to round it out.
Moods was looking for a stun, but can't even find that. Screw a miracle, I just want to hit an ability. Instead, Purging is going to be purged from the face of the earth. 3 members stand around the mid-side bird, but not really the best chance to defend it when all 5 are all fired up. Clocked In, drop that mid-bird. They promised themselves they would never be first-round exits again, and it seems they're making good on that commitment. Left side bird's next.
Tier 2 up in the right line is going to mean that the Titan's still pretty healthy as Moods walks up looking for damage on top of the Scylla, but it's just not enough.
Yeah, Drunk Dip is going to trade out with Happen, so at the very least take down the Scylla, but Snyx and Dest will be the cost. Moods right after, unstoppable for them. And they're just going to keep it on moving down. It's another deicide. It's going to be back to your regularly scheduled Clocked In program. They'll take the first round.
The movement from Green Eggs and Ham, that forward aggression, trying to see if they can find anything after that left bird fight, I feel like they kind of baited themselves because, of course, Clocked In is still strong. Of course, Clocked In is still going to win the fight. You can't chase after somebody after a defense like that. You have to make sure that you show some restraint, which I think is going to be the big lesson to be learned from that last engagement.
That was just unfortunate because you really want to see. We've already had plenty of stories of upsets before. Not that you want to see Clocked In necessarily the grades exit again off the first round, but you do want to see a good fight, a staunch resistance be put up. Unfortunately, those embers of revolt were stamped out. That being said, still plenty of more fight to show. Still plenty of more Smite Prime to go. So don't you dare go anywhere. More action after the break. Hello, everyone, and welcome on back to Smite Prime, September Circuit Week 2, where the plays are always premium. And we just saw some top shelf plays come out there from Clocked In as they took that first round, no longer going to exit at the very beginning. I'm D-Lo, your hostess with the mostest. Joined alongside me in the booth, I've got my friend Musi here to cast the madness as well. And, of course, our almighty eyes in the sky. There he is. There he is. Almighty eyes in the sky. Tess. And, yeah, I was freaking out. I was like, whoa, he's a stat board? That's not what I just casted with. Tess and the Morton Man keep the cam steady and the prod lights on. Jithins and basically Billy your men behind the curtain. And Musi, we just got a peep behind the curtain to see this first round game. Clocked in, lock in, and unfortunately, Green Eggs and Ham wash out. What happened?
I mean, it was just a really solid game played by Clocked In. I think overall, the rotations were on point. They played for small victories, then they started pressing for bigger ones, had a good bait around that Fire Giant and a better bait around that left side Phoenix that won them the game. And it was just kind of like a death by 1,000 cuts, where it got to a point where even though Green Eggs and Ham would find favorable engagements, I think that ultimate from Styx there is a great example.
Yeah, that was really good.
There's just not enough damage, right? It's just not enough. So Clocked In end up bowling over Green Eggs and Ham with a ridiculous gold lead at the end of the game.
I want to throw some credit to Happen, the Secure Queen, for how many times they, with Sunder and without Sunder, were able to just nab an objective right in front of Moods. And you know what? I think you pointed out at the very beginning that Moods is going to be a very important piece of the puzzle, and if Green Eggs and Ham just are missing that piece, they can't complete it, right? Moods never really was able to get a successful Sunder off, couldn't really set up kills. It was always Snyx. Snyx was the initiation, and if your Bracken can't initiate, what can they really do in the first place? So unfortunate overall, but hopefully they got some notes down, some battle strategies they can take into their next circuit run.
And I think one of the big things to pull away here is that Clocked In is back in full force. Definitely not the team that we saw get knocked out round one. They're kind of back to their usual stick. These players have had a little bit more time to play with each other. Remember, Speaking of Evil got dropped from the team as they picked up Happen, so I think they had a little bit of growing pains going forward, but now they've kind of learned how to mesh, gel, coagulate with each other a bit better, so they should be looking pretty strong going forward.
Going forward, bracket coming at you. We know what match we're going to be covering, Musi, and I am salivating for it. 800 GPM are actually going to be getting their Smite Prime debut in the September circuit. Last week, they were wiped out by Joe Biden Esports a bit too quick. And who do they get to face? Danzy, baby. There's also some other interesting matchups there. Joe Biden Esports and Strength of Wood. Wonder who's going to take that one. But what do you think about this matchup that we're about to dive into?
I mean, this is kind of like the reigning king of jungle versus the king of jungle of old, right? Scream versus adapting, which I am very excited to see. I think everybody and your mama knows about adapting jungle from Smite of old, right? But when you're thinking about who are the big junglers now, you think about Scream, you think about Sunpride, you think about Tagveer. Those are the junglers that come to my mind. So it's going to be, can an old dog learn new tricks? Can they stand up to the next generation of high-level players? And honestly, I'm just really curious to see how they play into Danzy's game.
It's going to be interesting, especially considering the fact that they are playing on EU ping. That's worth noting, right?
Yes.
We're not going to be able to mention that every single time. You can't give excuses to a player with as much pedigree as adapting. But the P's and B's are certainly an opportunity for them to try to stake their claim on this victory and move a bit farther than the second round this go-around. I do want to also throw some attention to the fact that in that bracket, we saw Clocked In are going up against the Smite 2 Bad Boys, the team that actually took it last week. So I'm curious to see the result of that one too, but let's focus on the fight ahead of us here. Danzy, 800 GPM. Any picks that now maybe have to be banned away just because of the players you see step to the pitch?
We got to take Aladdin off the board if you're 800 GPM. Obviously, you cannot give that to Scream if that's available. They're going to be able to scoop that up, and then you're going to find yourself with another moment like you did in Founders. So definitely can't let that happen. Now you also think about what else is on the board, what else is available. Merlin is still a very highly contested pick. I would want to see that taken away from Benny Q. And then you start to think like, okay, well, what is Cyclone going to play? What is Cherry going to play? What about Bobby? I feel like those are not players that I'm actively keeping an eye on to take picks away from them. I'm really focused on that mid laner and that jungler.
This Emoja is going to be left available, and I'm instantly thinking that's probably going to go to Bobby if it gets back to them. The first pick's not going to be Emoja. It's probably going to be either Merlin or Sun Will. But if it comes back around to Danzy, I'd love to see an Emoja pick. Ares the last ban. What's left up for grabs?
I'm looking at that Merlin. I'm looking at maybe a Mercury, or even I know Scream likes to pick up a Loki every now and then, but I feel like that's more of a deserving spot for later in the draft. I'm really thinking Hecate or Merlin here. Get Benny Q in a position where they're going to feel very strong. Mid laners are very strong right now. Being able to get that Rada Tahuti online along with the rest of their build, they can shred anybody who walks up to them. There's a lot of flexibility for Danzy here, and they are obviously going to go for that first pick Merlin. Just makes perfect sense.
Sun Wukong, I imagine, is the pendulum swinging back to 800 GPM, but who knows? Time can tell. If you're gonna pick that Mercury, don't you dare top pick it. That should be the last pick. No one else is getting that but Scream,
Yeah.
so I really would not want to see them get a bit too crazy with it. Thor is also high contention, and if you take that away from both Cherry or Inbound, who have played it before, I mean, even Scream as well, potentially, I think it would be really solid. I like this. They grab the Emoja, noting how important that pick is. Alongside the Thor, you've robbed 2 solid options away from the front line.
I do really enjoy that, and these picks in tandem with each other do a lot more than just taking options away from Danzy. It's a lot of walls for 800 GPM, so the lockdown potential here, especially against a Merlin, you catch him out with the flicker, and then be able to put them in either a River's Rebuke or even just a Thor wall to set up for easy stuns, easy damage. You just want somebody that can follow up with the CC that you're starting to establish now. So interesting to see what is Faceless going to be doing, and is that Thor for Deduin, or is it for adapting? And I almost want it to be a little bit more for Deduin, because I want to see adapting on something really bombastic, really explosive, that could really just get in your face. And Thor, I think, is a good character to help support that type of playstyle, be it with long-range stuns or those Anvil of Dawns to go right into the backline. Oh my god, it's Ymir! You can have your moment.
Yeah, he's here. Big fan. The Ullr is going to join him alongside us. That's likely the dual lane set up right there. Cyclone Spin's been playing this Ullr quite a bit and has got some pretty solid momentum built up. I know we talked about in the last circuit how Cyclone, I think, had a bit of a rough break, but I feel like they're starting to enter a bit more of a consistency period now, so they don't have to fear it quite as much. Kukulkan is going to be the response from 800 GPM, likely facing off against Benny Q in that mid lane. This is interesting. It's got plenty of damage, got plenty of objective secure, but it doesn't have any way around the Ymir walls that we're now throwing around on the side of Danzy, so that could be a bit rough.
I really like this Kukulkan pick, though, because Kukulkan is really able to use and abuse the current, stronger items here for Smite 2 for the mid laners. Anything with mana attached to it, Ratatouille, is going to be really good on this Cuckoo. He has a lot of burst damage, especially when you get the Spit plus Polynomicon. You throw out the Tornado, you throw out another Polyproc, you got your dash out of your Tornado that can deal damage. And then that change that happened a couple patches ago that makes it so that Kukulkan maintains that movement speed even out of a dash, makes him all around a good mage to be able to have. The one thing that is kind of tricky about him is that once you use that dash, kind of a sitting duck, right? You can put the Tornado on top of yourself, but if you dash, you're dashing out of that Tornado, out of that safety. So the chase potential, be it from a Merlin or an Ullr, I feel is very strong. So Faceless has to stay very aware of their positioning. Just make sure Yemoja is nearby so that you have the peel that you need.
Danzy say, I see your walls and I'll raise you more walls. Grab the Odin cage alongside, which Agni can also not pass easily through. Apollo, though, is a pretty solid way to bail your team out of danger. That being said, look at what Danzy picked up as last. There's a lot of stuff to talk about now. The Bari potential bait pick. Musi, I know we talked about this again in the green room. We said Bari bait, not bait, bait, not bait, bait.
I think it's a bait pick. I don't like the Bari in the big, September 2025. I just feel like there are characters that are a little bit stronger than maybe you're looking for first. Mainly because I'm looking at a Bari that's with an Ullr, right? So first, before we know where this Bari is going, we have to know where everybody else is headed. Obviously, Merlin mid, Ymir, probably Ymir support, Odin over there in the solo lane, or it could be in the jungle. Is Cherry playing Bari solo? I feel like that's a very Cherry thing to do.
That'll be bad,
because
right?
I don't think I'm a big fan. I don't think I'm a sipper of this drink, but that's kind of where my heart is going, because then Odin gets to be in the jungle with Scream, or maybe it's like a Bari. Oh god, the longer I look at it, the more I'm like, where are you headed? Because in a team fight, this cooks. In a 5v5, I'm loving this. I'm a big fan. In a laning phase, in these things right here, no, not a big fan. I feel like it's dangerous. I think it's scary, especially because 800 GPM's laning is super easy. And also, I think that's an Apollo jungle. I saw it locked in, and I'm like, that's an Apollo jungle. We talk about I'm pretty sure it was Weekend at some point talking about how Apollo jungle could be one of the better jungles out there in the game. Low key, like incredibly strong if you know how to play it. And that's a big if, because if you screw that up, you screw your team. If there is anybody that I trust to be able to pull off a jungler that requires game knowledge and mechanical skill and knowing when to rotate and how to abuse that global ultimate, it is Adapting. It is somebody who has had years and years and years of experience to be able to back up that thought process. That's why I very firmly believe we're looking at an Agni Umoja dual lane, Apollo jungle, Thor solo, Cuckoo mid. That's where my heart goes. Because any answer that isn't that is not as fun. And if it's not as fun, then I'm
You
crying.
shouldn't be playing it.
Yeah, it's not about winning. It's about winning your smiles. It's about the
That
prize.
$7,000.
It's about the
I was about to say that $7,000 cash
100%.
prize begs to differ. I got rent to pay, buddy. My landlord's not going to say, "Oh, you had fun this month." All right, buddy, rent's off. Exactly. Not going to be having much fun when you're
Stop
dragged
walking
out,
in
kicking
Bari
and
jungle.
screaming.
My
landlord's looking over my shoulder.
Jungle.
Landlord's looking over your shoulder like, "You sure you should pick that?" I don't think that does well.
You're gonna lock that in. You're gonna lock that in. You have to pay for utilities. You know that, right? You want to pay for that? You want to pay for those utilities?
that doesn't
You're
scale
gonna be
very
good with
well
the
in the
Bari
current meta.
jungle. I don't really like
Get
that
those-
too much.
get
Have
those
you been
rocks.
buying enough words? Yeah.
Get those flame brands. Those are really good.
It's kind of a crazy
really good.
5v5.
Dude, this is
Because
really going to
the
be
one-
very interesting.
I'm
800
excited.
GPM of 2 globals. Yeah, they have 2 global ultimates. Look, Thor, Apollo.
Yes.
I
Thor
can
and
rush you
Apollo.
in from any point in the map. You could put the Thor in the Apollo chariot and then have the Thor Anvil of Danya when you think you got away. There's honestly, the options are infinite. I do really like the fact that you're pointing out that this Apollo is likely going to be jungle because Apollo, again, it just springs the trap from out of nowhere. So, a lot to look forward to, a lot to see, but you have to wait just a little bit longer. Just a little bit longer until we get there. So stick around. Game coming at you after a quick little break. Well, I did say it was going to be a little pause, didn't I? Sorry, guys.
Aw,
Seems
man.
that they're really trying to show us how much fun they can have by pausing and messing with the casters and then instantly unpausing. Thanks, guys. Nonetheless, Danzy, 800 GPM, D-Lo, Musey, what you seeing? What you liking?
So remember my little offhand comment before we left that picks and ban screens where I was like, I really hope it's not Bari jungle. I'm staring
Whoops.
right at a Bari jungle right now. There are a few things to really go over before we can really get into the nitty gritty. Obviously, yes, we have that Bari jungle. Ymir's going to be over there in that solo lane. There is that Apollo jungle, like we saw. So Thor is going to be headed for, Deduin. But it's a Cuckoo ADC and an Agni mid. I love Smite too. A lot of shifting pieces
What?
here. A lot of experimentation going on.
What?
Yeah. Even the relics are a little bit different because we have a couple of Aegises for Adapting and for Snodstar. And you mentioned before, D'Lo, that they're 800 GPM playing on EU ping because they're an EU team. So now we get true NAV EU Smite game and a brawl over there by the blue buff.
Yeah, Ymir's just whacking down Deduin. What you gonna be doing about this, sucker? Using your bees? That's not gonna stop me. Cherry continues to walk him down. I scream, you scream, we all
He
scream
started
for the
with the
Glacial
spin.
Strike. Frostbitten Auto doesn't finish the job though. One quick sip from the Health Chalice, and no one is coming to bail Deduin out. You've got to just kind of deal with it, buddy. A great Ymir steal of the blue.
So, Cuckoo ADC. We'll start there. That'll be a fun place to start. What does this pick
Sure.
do? It clears. It throws the tornado down and it clears. Is the Cuckoo going to be building attack speed? Maybe with like the not Cyclopean ring? It's called something else? No, that's just a mage Cuckoo. But what do you lose? You sustain damage? Wrong. Adapting
Pride.
is here with that Apollo jungle, so we still have a lot of sustained damage we can put on top of objectives on towers and titans. Or
Oh
Deduin's
my
just
God!
dead. Y'all. What's up,
y'all?
D'Lo?
Dude,
Yo.
this Ymir is like killing it already. This is my favorite game of all time. Benny Q wants to
That's
also
your
get
dog
on the
right there.
action. starts to peel off Faceless's face with a few of those autos. But Apollo is lurking in the wings, so BennyQ's got to make sure that they're going to be able to escape back. The Bari versus Apollo jungle face-off. What does that look like? Dude, get out of here. You're level 2. Oh,
again.
no. What
He's
a great
again.
wall. One last smack. And Deduin is dead once more.
Adapting, maybe sees if they can avenge their friend, but a freeze from Cherio buys himself a bit of time. Bees burn, but back into the
Minions
lane
are
he
here.
goes.
Oh,
Cherio
no.
just turns it back
The
around.
minions.
He got the dash.
Cherio says this one's looking just prime to me. A freeze, an
way.
auto. The Aegis is baited out. You can't stop the Ymir, baby. This guy is the father of all Frost Giants. Thor is going to try for a third crack at it. Since they don't have too much health, Cherio could be in trouble now this time around. But Deduin, I think, is still level 2. I don't know if you want this work, buddy. That Glacial Strike does so much damage. Cherio's 2-0, 2 minutes in.
And now Scream's up there by the back camps fighting
What
for his
is
life.
going on?
Because we're proxying between a tier 1 and a tier 2. At 2
What?
40 seconds of the game, Bobby jumps in, Faceless is dead. I don't... What are we doing?
No one bought Shell, by the way.
No one bought Shell. Who needs it? Not me.
What?
Not 800 GPM.
I am baffled right now. Like, is this a sewer game? Did we spin a wheel? Like, what is going on at this moment in time? Inbound makes the gank on top of the Cuckoo, but being a support Odin means... By the way, support Odin, right? Man.
Yeah.
Man, oh man, oh man. Bari walking straight into an ambush they do not know exists, but they do that level 5. Also have the beads. Good damage being applied there. A double freeze from Cherry to keep him safe for a bit longer, but a double stun for the Moonstrike is the answer back. Bari ult plays preemptively to make sure Scream stays safe, but might not be able to keep him safe for too long. What a great wall, but a better 2 from adapting through it is going to be able to result in the Bari's end.
This is not the Smite 2 that we have been watching for the past, couple of months. This is already ridiculously aggressive, ridiculously in there. Cherio is going to be fighting once again for his life, but a Warrior's Axe and...
Cherio, leave him be! Leave
you.
the doing be, dude. He's gotten his licks, all right? Like, you've proven a point. At this point, it's superfluous. Like, stop. He's already dead. It's just rough to watch. That being said, Deduin is only now a level down, but that does mean level 5 difference is attained. That Thor better keep 10 toes in that tower until they hit that mark.
It's going to be a tough fight for Deduin in the solo lane, being down those 2 kills, and Cherio with this Ymir pick is so tanky, but Deduin doesn't have to fight into this Ymir. You just have to be careful about what you're using to clear the wave. The reason why Deduin died so early was because, early on they didn't have Thor Hammer to get out. And then you use the Thor Hammer in front of a Ymir, you can't do that, right? You have to let Cherio clear their wave, or just try to spin in there and then hammer out, or die again.
Die. Yep, that's going to be the answer, it seems, once more. Hey, Deduin, 3rd time on the board. How does it feel? Tic-tac-toe, and it's just going to continue to get worse from here. Cherio grabs a totem as well, just as a bit of added panache. Ymir could do no wrong.
I've never seen Cherio with so many kills so early on in the game. And now Apollo is ulting over to solo lane. Hello?
Oh, dear God. The moves on in. Actually managed to bait out the freeze,
in
and
the
Thor's
air.
in the sky. Finally has a level 5 difference. The bees come a little bit late. The Thor wall's off the mark. Deduin might be just a bit flustered, a bit nervous to try to take down their hero. A wall grants him a bit more space, but that TP is certainly coming back up shortly. Glacial Strike in return. He does not mind the double tap. All right, Deduin, you finally got your shutdown, buddy. You got your legs beneath you. Let's see what you can do with it.
It was all a bait to get Cherio to a point where you could shut them down and get gold. I see now. This
Very
is
smart.
This was the 800 IQ play from 800 GPM. River's Rebuke comes up. Cuckoo, Spirit of the 9 wins off the mark.
Rebuke not going to find the damage either. An axe right in the face of the Cuckoo. Retreats to the waiting arms of the Odin. The Lifebinder doubly applied. Provide a bit more health to Cyclone should they need it. And they decide, yes, I do. What a big boon of a shield. The Riptide, though, will get the Emoji back out into a cage instead of safety. No shell, baby. Maybe you should have bought when you could have. Vibes is no longer alive.
This type of gameplay is so bizarre to me, especially seeing it from an EU team. I'm not used to seeing them fight so much. Now we're underneath the tower, Aegis pop, Cuckoo under duress, and all but dead as Cyclone finds the kill.
I don't know if you really wanted to move into that one adapting, but the leap from the Odin decides that Cyclone has to retreat back as well. Merlin is stepping up, though, if adapting sticks around for a bit past their Smite Prime. You best be careful. Inbound just walks back and swishes their hips just to say, don't you want this? Adapting decides they do, but maybe a bit of buyer's remorse. Doesn't matter if I'm Mez, that bird bomb still busts you right back, and adapting's in base.
And we're also going to pick up this purple buff for all of our troubles. Dilo, what?
Dude, after that last game, this is actually a crazy change of pace. First Blood was at
What
7
a
minutes,
vibe
I think, in
shift.
that last game. Now it's 7-3, 7 minutes in. 3K gold lead to Danzy. No objectives taken, and we always talk about how Danzy play for the objective. What? Why? Why, Musy? Why?
There's been so much happening that we haven't even had a chance to really sit down and talk about the ramifications of the picks that we've been seeing locked in even at the start. But at the end of the day, we're playing that PvP as Scream just straight up solos a Queen Naga. Shoutouts, I guess. That's kind of nuts. But with all of this focus on the fighting, it really comes down to who gets to take an objective after the fact, who gets to look for things after you win a fight.
They haven't really gotten to see the after the fight, right? It's just been after the fight. What happens? More fight. It seems
Another
that's really
fight,
just
yeah.
and it's because the cooldowns for the death timers are short at this point in the game. But once they start to get a bit longer, I guess that's when we start to see the objectives, when there's nothing else left to kill, save for the Gold Furies of the world. But so far, you do see Scream is stepping up quite aggressively onto Snodstar, knowing the weaknesses of this Cuckoo, easily able to use and abuse them. A slipstream right back into danger. But the minions are able to body block for a bit longer. The hail of arrows will not find you. Adapting takes a trip on over once again. Cuckoo's got to take a while to rejoin the fight. Spirit of the Nine Winds does not find either mark, but Scream is still in trouble nonetheless. An auto results in their end. Inbound tries to rejoin the fray, but Cyclone's already hot in retreat, and Agni is hot on their trail. A double kill for the Apollo. River's Rebuke is up. The cage is what follows. No shell means you can't enter the Hell in a Cell, but Inbound is able to saunter off safe.
What a crazy Apollo ult. Being able to find two, you got the Learning Bow right away for adapting, so they'll be able to get extra damage off when they find either a Mez or a knockup from that ultimate. But Bobby's coming back. This Cuckoo is still low.
Kill. Kill.
Get him
Kill
back.
Inbound. Kill. The Gungears might will result in their end. They save the leap as well. Asunder results in Vibes going down under. It's a double kill from the support.
It's this... What?
Dude, I'm so
what's
confused.
kind of insane. What's insane about this style of play is Benny-Q gets
That
jumped on,
Benny-Q's
Learning
dead.
Bow stun, pretty much dead.
Doesn't
Yeah,
find the
there it
Mez,
goes.
but doesn't matter. That voice so beautiful. That kill so good. But what's the answer? Gold Fury finally go. Oh, guys, there's objectives in this game. What's the What's the E in PvE stand for? I don't remember. Let's just get everyone. That's what it stands for. Player versus everyone and everything. A Gold Fury in the pocket of Dancy, the first one on the map.
And then we immediately move over towards that left side. Scream and Cyclone Spin have damage and CC abound just to see if they can kill anybody. And what I was saying before is that 800 GPM in these constant fights kind of put Danzy off their game, because it's like, oh, we're so worried about fighting, we don't have time to set up and make meaningful rotations to really get those Gold Furies, but I guess not. Because when you're a Gold Fury fiend like Team Danzy is, you don't care how much fighting's going on in the map. Kill my mid laner. I don't care. I'm getting out of the base 50% faster. Speaking of killing,
Benny Q's like, wait. Benny Q says, I didn't say that I would die. No siree. Screams there to back them up just a little bit. Yamoja brings up the rocking waves, but no one's there for follow-up. They've completely abandoned you at sea. Apollo's in the sky, drops back down as Vibes is put down to the grayscale. The Agni finds the double stun, but not quite enough damage. A good freeze there from the rotation off Cherio. Those moves are not smooth enough to get you out of this sticky sitch, and it's a shutdown from the Merlin. What?
But in goes Zaduin with the ultimate. Hammer out. Down goes Benny Q, but he cuts a lot of damage inside that Ymir.
Oh, no!
Walled out. No beads can save you from that.
Oh, dear God. Oh, dear God, Musy. It's 12 kills, 11 minutes. Oh, dear God. Danzy
Yeah.
with a 5,000 gold lead. Gonna get some rocks for their troubles. They say, I like rocks. I like socking fools in the head as well. Doing a great job at both.
Put him in a sock. Hit people with it.
Yeah, put bars of soap in a sock and start hitting people with it. That's honestly what they say. We don't need
does
the.
feel like
we don't.
that.
I don't need the strength or the intelligence. I'm just gonna whack you.
Yeah. The ye who cast the first stone. Boom! Like, what do you mean?
Holy bro! If you
Oh,
live in a
boy.
glass house, you should probably get shells so you can walk out of it. 800 GPM. Get some oracles at least. That's nice. Okay, so dude, here's the thing. You mentioned the
Yeah,
fact that 800
yeah.
GPM are trying to throw Danzy off their game, right? Joe Biden Esports
Sure.
tried to do the same thing, and the same thing happened.
Mm-hmm.
They'll win the fights, and then they'll go get the objective. How do 800 GPM still play a game plan where they can be aggressive but not lose?
I mean, you have a lot of objective burn with this team comp between Cuckoo and Apollo. It's weird to me that we didn't try to slow play this to force fights specifically around Gold Fury or around Pyromancer. At this point, maybe I wonder if you just try to objective trade. You have Danzy go to one side of the map, you're gonna go to the other side. Instead, we're just constantly fighting in solo lane!
Vibes is in the Uber pool as well.
Whoa!
Eats the triple stun, but it's a wall right into another wall. You got nowhere to go, buddy, and nowhere to be but the gray screen. Cherio, once again, meets their fate in the fountain, but walls the mid lane as well. A similar fate that Cherio experienced. You get it firsthand. Faceless is frozen at Benny Q.
Scream underneath the tier 1 in the solo lane, throws out the ultimate, and
Okay.
now goes to Duin. Wants to try to find a couple more?
Riptide gonna stop that for a bit longer. 800 GPM have some good tools to escape. Overall, 2 for 1 across the map. You're not upset about that if you're Danzy. Again, they just keep winning these fights. And Musi, I'm sorry to ask you this, but Bari jungle peak?
Don't ask me that.
I'm sorry.
Well, no, because here's the thing. Is this a game we can look at as the norm for a comp Smite 2 game, and this is our template?
hope so.
Can we use and learn from this? Because the problem with Bari jungle is that, how are you starting fights? You lack CC to really get things going, to be the
Walk at
initiator.
them.
5v5 is what you're looking for. You walk at them, correct? But Danzy has so much CC to cover up for that fact. That's kind of why we're seeing Scream have the kind of benefit. As a Gold Fury goes away at Danzy, 800 GPM looks on the other side of the map for that Pyromancer.
Naga was grabbed by Danzy as well, so again, they win. You talked about how important those pips are. I see 2 for Danzy. I see 0 for 800 GPM. Feels bad. And you have this Cuckoo, right, on the left side of the map. Didn't have Spirit of the Nine Winds available, so you couldn't even look towards that pip for the steal attempt. That just does not feel good. What is Snodstar's role going to be? 3 levels down in this ADC on a mage pick. How do you make sure that your presence is felt?
I mean, Agni's dead. Benny Q does so much damage here. Pops the beads, trades out their life. Hey, get Faceless.
Why?
Because you can. It's not about the money, Batman. It's about sending a message. But Snodstar, you want to know what they do, D'Lo? You don't want to know why they're here? They're not in ADC. Adapting is the ADC. They're the ADC that lives in the jungle. Snodstar is a mage. They are the second mid laner. They are here to do damage, to area denial, to throw out ultimates. This looks familiar. That's a good wall. But Deduin has the hammer.
Oh no, but we have inbound in the bush. Oh dear God, Deduin, run! The bees are not going to save you this go around, but no dots applied. That means Deduin's barely able to survive. Goes up in the sky. We're not playing this at any risk. I'm getting the hell away from you.
Okay, you're out. He's gonna go for the back, but that leaves his Cuckoo all by himself underneath the tower.
Oh, dear God. Poor guy. 4 members surround you. Break that spaghetti noodle over their knees. Cyclone Spin will take the kill.
Italians all across the world cry out in pain as the spaghetti gets snapped in half. A beads is pulled from Scream, and River's Rebuke is up.
Scream, though, happy to fight beneath the waters. Might want to change your mind, though, when it gets a bit too hot to handle. Faceless dashes up. That means they have no escape from Inbound's clutches, especially if there's a cage. Why didn't you listen to the stock market? It asked for shells. Instead, you're sent to hell. Faceless goes down. The Thor trying to put up an attempt to take down Cyclone Spin, but Yamoja robs him of the opportunity. Benny Q robs Vibes of their life. 3 for 2 overall. Danzy stand the better half of the trade.
They're going to look for that T2. Just a crazy amount of fighting happening in this game. You got to forget the time that has passed to the objectives that are potentially up there. It's kind of wild, but Danzy has been the ones to win fights and look for more after the fact. And brawling the entire game is all well and good. If you want to force fights constantly, you can absolutely play that way. But when you do that, you take a risk of losing. It's a gamble. And you need to make sure that you have to come out on top there. You have to be able to find victories after your victory. People have to stay alive. Adapting has to come out alive. Snod has to come out alive. You have to be able to pull a Gold Fury, a Pyro, a Fire, a Tower, anything. If you can't, that means that Danzy walks up and takes your jungle. That means they take your towers. It means that they get to look for bigger things. And eventually, you can't just constantly brawl anymore. You can't play for trades. You got to play defensively.
Having seen this game, I would now pay a significant chunk of my Smite 2 Diamond wallet to have seen the GPM game versus Joe Biden Esports, because I can actually now, with no offense being meant, and no offense hopefully being taken,
What was that game?
That game must have been so aggressive. And right now you're seeing that same aggression be put onto Cherry. Beads forced out in response to the Mez. A great wall ensures escape, but Apollo says, get in the chariot, sucker. We're riding all the way over to take down his gosh darn Ymir. Misses with the ultimate, but the tornado does find the mark. Slipstream actually does good damage too, and Cherio's pulverized, but Eat the Spear of the Nine wins. But Danzy this entire time say that's A-OK. Apollo ults down. You can't bring anyone else to this FG pit. So we'll be taking it from here, unless Yamoja's got anything to say about it. 800 GPM stealing away. Vibes with their last breath in their body ensures the objective goes to the rest of the team. But now will that team survive to tell the tale? Seems that Thor might be able to. They have the TP. Scream in a similar situation, but now surrounded by 3 members. The Bari ultimate barely able to save them from the rising flames. A dagger at the very least can keep Inbound alive, but for how long? Danzy might have danced a bit too close to the sun. Now they're burned up.
The 800 GPM are just gonna walk this all the way to the park. Beads burn from Benny Q. He has to get out of there. Dude, the ridiculous thing about that steal from Taduin is that he has beads. He doesn't have Sunder, and Vive Sunder was on cooldown. So they literally walked up, ulted it, and got it. Danzy, that was their FG. By every single right, that was their FG. And now, they have to try to steal a Gold Fury. That's not gonna happen.
Cherio trying to get cheeky with it, but this is not the laning phase anymore, buddy. I don't think you realize what movie you're in. It's a horror film. Oh, God. 19 minutes, 20 kills for Danzy, keeping with the pace. Appreciate that, guys. And it's a 2,000. It was 8,000, I think, like, what, 3 minutes ago, Musy. 8,000 gold lead to Danzy.
Yes.
Now reduced to 2. Bubkiss. 800 GPM have completely closed the gap.
I cannot believe what I'm seeing. By all rights, that Fire Giant should have gone to Danzy, and then
Adapting's
with that
level
Fire
20.
Giant, they would have been able to really slow out the game. Yeah, Adapting is level 20, 8-2 at this stage.
Goat.
Because they have been farming, and they have been getting the last hits, they've been getting the kills while their team kind of suffers for it. But, hey, you want to give that to Adapting, by all means, I'm going to do that. But with that Fire Giant steal, 800 GPM, all of the brawling, all of the fighting, none of the pass matters. Now we just get to keep up this brawl with more gold in our pockets. Now we don't have to play defensively. We're still looking for more.
I like how Inbound did make sure to use Gungnir's Might on the Thor to shrug off that Magi's bubble, but unfortunately, they can just shrug that off and say, we'll just grab this Pyromancer. No, actually, instead, they see Ymir all by itself, so tantalizing and sweet, but they're going to opt for the safer play. They're going to remember, again, there's PvE. There's a second letter in that alphabet that they can try to use to their advantage. But now Apollo says, hop in, suckers. I want the finest shooters on my side. Unfortunately, they're going to arrive and see no one there waiting for them, save for some minions. Cherry is safe back in base.
I like the thought process there, though, from Adapting, because you have to be able to clear that minion wave regardless. There was a Minotaur there, keeping your wave states at a good spot. But on the off chance that Cherry was going for something cheeky, you've got the ultimate. You could just throw that out. and just don't look for anything until that comes back online. But that's the scary thing about this Apollo jungle pick, especially now that you're in the later stages of the game. You have a bit more mana in your mana bar. You can ferry people around, multiple people around for longer distances. Yeah. So I'm curious to see what the gank angle is going to be there from adapting. How many people are we going to drop ship, and who do you take along with you in that Apollo wall? Honestly, being able to have CC on command, yeah, like be it. Yeah, that's a good one. I'm thinking Thor, and I'm thinking either Yemoja or Agi, so that when you fall down on top of somebody, you immediately have CC to follow it up with, so you just have true lockdown on top of who you are.
If Agni rides in an Uber, does he have to pay double? Because it's kind of like two people. I wonder. These are philosopher's questions.
Well, it's one body and two heads.
So what do you value though? The two bringings? Like what maketh man? What maketh the deity?
That's a good one. How much money does Agni have? Can they pay the double fee?
64,000. I mean, I think he should be able to tip at least a hefty 20%, you'd imagine. And with this tier 2 in the left lane potentially going down, maybe a bit more gold in their coffers as well. Danzy put up a half-hearted attempt at a defense, but not one that I think they can afford to make. And Inbound is going to eat some poke for it as well. This is where these comps become so interesting. What does the 5v5 look like between these two teams?
So Danzy has a lot of lockdown and a lot of CC, especially Cherry on that top side.
What a great wall! Double stun too, but the Yemoja ult's gonna immediately answer. Cherio makes away with Faceless's life. The Spirit of the Nine Winds hits Cyclone Spin for nothing, and the Thor ult's not gonna be able to find the Ullr either. They dive in with axe in hand, and Adapting's already dead. 2 kills for Danzy to reverse the pressure, make it a third with that axe. Double stun, not gonna stop me, sucker. Deduin's dead once more.
That was a crazy flank from Cherio. They push up that right side minion wave, re-aggressing that wave state, take the teleporter over just as 800 GPM is starting to walk up towards that left side. That pincer maneuver completely swings the game. You want to ask how this 5v5 works? You get a good stun, you get some walls out there. Remember, Dilo, there are no shells for 800 GPM. Bobby gets a lot of value just by being alive and throwing out the ultimate. So once that ult comes out, you lock everybody in that space and just pour your damage in there. Merlin's got giant circles, Scream's got giant circles, and Cyclone Spin finds an axe, somebody dies.
That Fire Giant was a big speed bump for Danzy, but they quickly seem to have gotten control back over the car. Now they're speeding on over right to that Ancient Fury. We're only weak in the right side bird, but you're already feeling great. You got the best Phoenix, and FG still available for the grabs. Musi, itemization is very interesting when you consider where each god is in their roles. What are you seeing when you look across the map?
So I'm looking at Adapting's build, and I kind of like the mix we have going on here. Frenzy Dagger, Learning Bow, you're trying to augment the damage there. As we
like this too.
Over to a Fire Giant.
Odin's going to be the first up to step. Bari in the back line, but Yemoja's trying to zone her off with the rocking waves and will succeed. Spirit of the Nine Winds, Faceless takes it for 800 GPM, but will they be able to escape with their lives? 3 members caught within the rocking waves as well as the cage, and now Thor's got to decide if they want to go back in, right into the Bari ult, right into Adapting's corpse. Cherio takes them down. Inbound still moving up despite their low health bar, and the dagger used so wisely there to keep Vive safe for a bit longer, stall for time. Inbound in a similar predicament as both supports will have their lives taken away simultaneously. Scream is around the corner, knows exactly where that Agni is, and calls them out. The Harpies are going to be casualties of war, and the red buff is as well. Benny Q with a flick of the wrist gets the double.
I mean, once again, Odin Wall becomes critically important. No shells. Everybody got locked inside that damage. Now Deduin forced to hammer away. And Danzy gets to look at a right side Phoenix because they got the Ancient Gold Fury. That debuff is going to make that Phoenix very easy to take.
And you have a Bari and an Ullr, so Ullr can split down the mid-tier 2 if they so please, but they're going to decide to reconvene with the rest of the group. A good double tap, trying to look for Scream. No ultimate means no second chance. And that Cherio's going to go down as well. Yes, past tense, make sure. We had a Cherio as well, but no longer. Danzy got to abandon their attempts on the right side bird, and Benny Q might be in similar danger.
He is the danger. He is the one
oh, God!
On top of this Kukulkan. Down he goes, and Vives can only do...
Oh, Vives, no!
They're dying too! Oh my God, Benny Q's sick with it!
I don't know if they've got any mana or friends left, though, to make it happen a third time. It's not going to be the charm. Instead, it's the double kill shutdown from adapting. 4 bodies on Danzy's side, 3 bodies on 800 GPM. The field is littered with corpses.
Well, the Fire Giant, I guess, meant nothing at the end of the day, because now nobody gets to have it. Nobody gets to have nice things. Everybody go back to base and reset. Unless you're adapting, you can start a Pyromancer, right? Because you're Apollo Jungle, you've got the Boomba Spear, so it's a lot of damage to be able to throw down. My God, Dilo. What a game. This has been the game of all time, I fear. Like, this is crazy.
I'm very happy that this is the first time we get to see 800 GPM on the Smite Prime stream. Making a good impression. Pyromancer taken down, but inbound on his way back says, "Hey, I just got back from the store. You want anything? I think I'm good. See ya. I got my own ride." He just scoops himself out of there. Whip.
That's okay. Let's do.
Oh, okay, Muse. Itemization.
So-
Let's go back to it because we got to talk about adapting a little bit.
Yeah.
But what is this Bari building in a jungle role? Is it going to be the exact same thing?
No, this is a little bit different from what we're used to seeing. I like the Barbed Carver here, especially for a character like Bari who's able to utilize their auto attacks in order to get that passive going. You're going to be weaving in those autos on top of all your abilities, so what Barbed Carver does is it gives you a little bit of extra damage on top of targets with your autos after you land abilities on top of them. The Reaper is actually the very interesting pickup here, because there was a change with that item recently, made it a little bit more viable, being able to get max stacks immediately off of a god kill. I wasn't quite a Reaper believer. I don't think I am still, but I can see the value that it gives to a character like Bari specifically. Anybody who's really trying to throw out abilities and spam and get that lifesteal going, especially you have, stacks on your Devos, it fits. It works well, I think, for what Danzy is trying to accomplish with the character.
Well, Danzy, trying to accomplish this Ancient Fury once more, would expose all 3 birds to its debuff effect, and 800 GPM nowhere to be seen despite the fact that neither team's really advantaged. Only a 2,000 gold lead for Danzy, but it seems it's enough to intimidation bonus their way to a free Fury. And now they're marching up proudly, 5 men strong to the left lane.
Oh, 5 men -1. Looks like Cherry's gonna harass Taduin, as 800 GPM have to kind of fall back and defend not just their Phoenix, that's dead. You gotta start thinking about the Titan. And with FG spawning around the corner, Danzy has to be careful, because if they lose a fight here, it completely pendulum swings across the other way.
You talked about the fact that we get so far in this game, get so far into the fight, get so far up forward that now you're caught beneath the waves. BennyQ has to wait patiently for a life raft to come by. A cage traps in 3 members of GPM, and BennyQ moves up. Those Spirit of the Nine Winds aren't going to be doing much, but send your spirit to the heavens. Nonstar and Vibes are already dead. The dual lane has done too much damage. Midbird's going to be up next. Anvil of Dawn, at the very least, gets Taduin out of harm's way. And the Chair's the same story for Apollo, but they might not even be looking for the kills any longer. Danzy have finally recognized that the Titan is the true objective. Apollo does some donuts to survey the chaos beneath, but at some point what goes up must come down. Danzy say that's what's gonna happen to this Titan's head. We'll let it roll, drop down to a quarter, but low health for inbound. They leap back to safety. The Titan will have none. Danzy, after a 30-minute barn burner, will take the game.
If you see an Odin on the enemy team,
Yeah?
Shell, you need it.
Shell.
That relic was so needed that whole time, especially in that last fight, where 3 people get caught in an Odin cage and a Merlin just all on top of them, and then they all die, and now you lose the game. That is honestly what it came down to at the very, very end there. Just ridiculous from both teams. I think that was one of the most fun games of Smite 2 I've seen in like a minute. That was insane.
Music, complete the sentence. Bye, bye, bye.
Shell. By God, you just don't. Or a Helm of Darkness, or anything. There are 2 things to get away from that cage, and we saw none of it.
There's a lot to break down there, folks, and we're gonna need a little bit of a time to recoup. My heart's still palpitating. I gotta make sure that I'm not having a stroke. So we'll be right back after a short little break with a recap and more Smite Prime action.
So important.
Look at that.
To pick that relic up. Again, everybody's caught inside this Odin cage. Boom, dead. They're all dead. I mean, everybody dies in this fight, but like it certainly didn't help 800 GPM that you're locked inside that Odin cage. Even, yeah, here's the thing. You could argue potentially, we don't have to worry about Odin cage because anti-heal is not as strong, or we're not sustaining inside the cage. We don't have to worry about it, right? We're not a sustain comp. We're not scared of Odin cage. Here's the problem. You are locked inside a room with Benny Q, who and this Merlin with their giant AoE abilities are able to just kit dump on top of you. You have nowhere to run to get away from it, and that's what really makes it so troublesome to deal with.
I'm not locked in here with you. You're locked in with me in the waves, says Benny Q, and takes Vives in that as well. At least Adapting was able to like get the counter kill, but dear God, what a rush for Benny Q. Just liquid adrenaline just shot straight into their veins. These slash lines are insane because that game was insane. And you make the great point. Benny Q doesn't have a lot of hard CC on the Merlin, so what can you do? Hard lock them into one geographical location where it doesn't really matter. My abilities now cover half of this cage, and you really have no choice but to at least eat a few of them. Whereas if you have the open terrain, if you're cage-free, like all my eggs, that's actually not true. I get the giant brand that's cheaper. But if you are cage-free, you can just kind of wander away. If you have no choice, you're going to have to face down the Q at some point, the barrel of a gun, and it's going to shoot you 3 times in the face, GPM 800 times, even for every GPM there is. They're unfortunately going to fall once again in the second round. That's the second time we've seen that happen this circuit.
It's not for any lack of passion or trying. Very clearly, 800 GPM is definitely a scary team to go up against. If you don't know how to deal with that kind of aggression, if you don't know how to handle the constant fighting, then that playstyle is going to put you behind and in the dirt. You won't be able to fight against it. But Donzi is very good at finding the victories post fights and finding the little things in every engagement. That's why they get out ahead.
Bracket coming at you guys in just a second to see what the landscape is. Now, I'm really curious about Smite 2 Bad Boys versus Clocked In. They will indeed be the ones to take it. So, Clocked In, I think, this week are kind of reestablishing the pecking order, right? They're saying, all right, guys, you had a week to not worry about us since we got knocked out early. It's time to get back in line. It's time to go back into your rightful place at the bottom.
And I'm also especially curious about this Strength of Wood team. Kiyoka, Snaddy, Kaidon, NMR, John Rowing. So it looks like they're progressing pretty nicely too, coming out ahead on top of Joe Biden Esports. Really solid semifinals here, I think, between the 4 teams. If I had to guess for finals, we saw Unforgettable Dance win out over Clocked In last week, but that was a Clocked In that didn't maybe have a lot of time together. And if Clocked In if they play a game like they did before, I think we should expect some great things there. I'm almost wondering if we're going to see another Clocked In Danzy in the finals. But I think the actual goated timeline is an Unforgettable Dance Strength of Wood final. That's
because it'll be Sunprod and John Rowing will be reuniting, but not as friends, as bitter foes and rivals instead. That would be really interesting to see. A bit of Marvel Civil War action for it, but P's and B's action is what we got provided in just a second. So Sunprod, of course, is a big name to talk about for Unforgettable Dance, but the Sasano is a big name that you said is shot in the head and dead, so might not be able to see them rock that pivotal pick that they oftentimes go for.
Yeah, I really do think that ultimate change kind of nerfs Sasano in such a way that makes him not as appealing as a pick to have in the jungle, especially when you have fallback picks like the Hunbots. I think is going to be a little bit more prevalent as we move forward, at least until Tsukiyomi joins. That'll be fun.
Oh, heck.
We're not ready for that one. Gulp. But until then, Fear No Evil is still incredibly useful. You still have to worry about picks like the Aladdin, which is why that gets taken off the board right away. But then what other junglers can you fall back on? Loki has been seeing a little bit of play still, mostly from Scream, same vein of like the Mercury. But this Achilles that we saw show up once for Tagveer, I think has the potential to show up yet again, especially with that Learning and Bow Hydra's Lament combination. Casted ability, your auto attack becomes empowered. Now you shot your Learning and Bow, so your Learning and Bow is doing extra damage, and you just boom right there and just take him out. It's a lot of damage to be able to deal with all at once. If we see that blink again, though, that does make him very susceptible to CC.
Tagveer and Sunprod are both Sasano merchants, and I'm curious to see if they end up going for it. It wouldn't be a first pick. Sun Wukong makes a lot more sense, especially with the Merlin now being banned away for the first time we get to see on stream. So what's the response? I'm curious to see if they've decided to sell all their Susano stocks or if they maybe still have faith in their loyal Stormlord companion. But there's still a lot of good picks available. Yamoja's one.
Yamoja we're looking at. You also still have something like a Neath if you want to fall back to that, but think about what Paul wants to play, right? You are looking at things like, Vulcan, Zeus, I think is where we want to put that focus. You can even maybe try to pick out the Bari. Scream was running it. I don't think it looked the best, but if players are interested in playing her, maybe that's where their minds are kind of drifting towards.
Agni and Yamoja, tale of water and fire. Some elemental opposites can make for an awfully steamy combination, so Clockton are going to lock that one first. Wondering if that Agni is going to be in the dual lane this time around. We saw it in mid prior, but I do oftentimes feel like it's usually preferred for the carry role instead. Now Dance. It's kind of balls in your court to decide what is the highest priority. That Thor, we've seen that be quite high on that list as well, alongside the Hui, so playing it safe so far.
A lot of very high tier picks is kind of the best way to explain it.
Yeah.
A lot of high contention picks that have gone to Unforgettable Dance at this point, be it the Wukong. But Thor and Hou maybe less so. Thor, I think you said before, has been one of those picks where we always see him in a game, just try to figure out where he wants to go. I feel like this Thor is going to be headed towards Sunprod of all people, I think. Well, you could run the Wukong jungle, but I really do feel like he's going to be the best in that solo lane. But that Achilles pickup for Clockton makes a lot of sense. That goes straight to Tegvir.
You mentioned that earlier. We're going to see it again. Hecate is the lock for Paul once more. And this is interesting because I've seen so many times, we talked about it so many times, where Paul decides, I feel like shaking up the mid-meta. Today maybe it's a bit more of a relaxed instance where it's like, nah, I guess I'll actually play the gods that are beneath the tab for mid. Normally Paul decides to go anywhere but there for their premier picks. But Hecate worked out pretty well for you last time around. And if you think what was the foil to this Hecate, the counter engage, it was hard engage from the enemy team last time with the Cabrakan. Instead, they decided to measure it with a bit of hesitance, a bit of distance CC. Scylla.
So what's interesting, too, is that we saw Scylla be a priority pick for Clockton the last time we saw them on the big screen for Happen, but Happen's going to be rocking that Yamoja instead. So this does leave it open for Wrong You. And I like this Scylla pick, again, just because of that ranged cripple and root you'll be able to pop on. I think it catches Agni out. Hecate especially will have trouble with that. So a lot of value there, especially if you can follow it up with your Vulcan damage. So a lot of circles, a lot of easily applied CC and damage for Unforgettable Dance.
Hercules going to add a bit more sustain into that lane if it indeed is going to be rocked in the solo, right? Yeah, I know you've been in the gym, buddy. I know you got them muscles that would put even Herc to shame. But Herc, there it is, lifting big boulders, aren't we? Hercules is probably solo. I know you've talked about the fact that we like it in the jungle as well, and I do too, because that CC, having it on a rotating scale, feels great. Do you anticipate it's going to be the same case here? Where do these two demigods end up?
Hercules is going to solo. It's 100% going into Karmic's hands, just because Tegvir has... We saw Tegvir on the Achilles before, and it won them a game. They want to run it back. They want to be able to use that Learning Evo strat yet again. And what Karmic can do with this Hercules pick is live forever. They just have a lot of sustain, from your mitigate wounds, and then you're able to pop your regrowth striders. You can even pick up a Heartward Charm if you really want to be all that. Just constant healing, constant damage mitigation, constant tank. You are very reliant on your team in the late game to be able to follow up with that damage. But when you have the Achilles execute on hand there, I feel like there's a bit of leeway you can have with your solo lane. You don't need to expect as much damage from the Hercules. You just need somebody to CC, hold people in place for that fatal strike from Achilles, and you have a lot of damage, be it from Agni or Hecate, to be able to put people down into that health range.
It would be the first time we've seen Karmic run away with his Hercules. Remember last time, I think it was against the Sun Wukong, in fact, if I'm not mistaken, and we said Sun Wukong should win this lane. And then Karmic ran it. And Karmic becomes the raid boss that attracts so much ire, attracts all of their attention. If you let Karmic roll up like a Katamari ball into the grand size threat that you let him become, all of a sudden, how many diamonds, how many of those ultimates are being sunk into that Nemean hide without really too much of a scratch? You've got to make sure that if you're Unforgettable Dance, you're keeping in mind who the priority is.
Well, and think too, how much anti-heal is in this Unforgettable Dance comp? By my measure, I don't see any, right? Nobody from
Yeah.
Unforgettable Dance has anti-heal inherent in their kit. There's no Ares Flames, there's no Smog from Agni, no Chalk Aspect Rain. So Karmic gets full value from his mitigate wounds, full value from any type of
Yuck.
healing that he does, which is tough to play into. I'm really looking at, Golden to be able to shred down this tank. You need Rongyu to be able to hold them in place with this Scylla, put down the Crush so you can shred away the Prots. It's a group effort. It takes a village to kill a Hercules, right? And without that kind of coordination, Karmic will be able to walk around and do whatever he wants. But it doesn't mean that Unforgettable Dance is out of options per se. I do feel like they can put a lot of harassment, a lot of pressure onto the back line of Clocked In, be it the Hecate or the Agni. Because you have this range stun from Thor, you have the cudgel from Sun Wukong. If he's building full int, he half health a squishy at the late game. Or if he's going to be a little bit more tanky brawler, you've got the Devos, Lash, the Umbral Link combination. He can harass people in the back line for a long time and use their ultimate as like a second health bar. Put down the Wu 2 and the Wu 3. Suddenly your Master's Wills are really going crazy with knockups. I feel like it's a give and take for both sides. A lot of it is going to come down to what happens between Tagveer and Sunprod, right? Who gets to be the one to make that first strike?
Because both of them are going to be looking for it. These are players who really like to snowball for their team. And here's the thing, it's not like Scream. Scream is a farm monster, and as a kind of a side effect, kills will start to trickle down. Sunprod and Tagveer look for kills, and the farm is kind of the side order as the after effect of that. But at times that results in them falling a bit behind in levels, especially when you're set up against a farm monster like Scream. So I'm curious to see who ends up taking the level lead as well as the kill lead with Impact. Level 5, I think, is much more important for Sunprod, just given the fact that you open up an entirely new gank option. Whereas for Tagveer, it's a nice little bonus. So look towards that Anvil of Dawn. Once that's up, combines well with that Earthshaker from the Vulcan. That's a bang, bang, boom caveman combo if I've ever seen one.
Yes, it is so much all at once, and it'll be especially handy around objective fights. If you think over around this Gold Fury, hold on, a little bit
Nice
of physical
job.
humor.
Ah.
Around this Gold Fury here. Hold on. Yeah, there it is. Around this Gold Fury, I think is going to be where it's very pivotal. Because especially if you're thinking about being up here in this top part, my hand disappears. Hold on.
Thank
There
you,
it
Tess.
is. Oh, thank you, production. Shout out, Chithens. Shout out, Tess. So around this gold view, I think is going to be where it's really important just because you have the Anvil of Dawn to be able to crash down giant Vulcan circle that completely decimates anything that gets in contact with it. But if you think about it, it's going to be the... Oh, I have to walk all the way over here to come on the other side. That's okay. They're remaking the game, by the way. That's what's going on. So
Music, can you take
they're
a
gonna be
bite
around
of the
this
Gold
Fury.
Fury?
Yeah, 100%. Let's take it. I have to figure out how I have
Hold
to
on.
move
Frame
here. because
yourself.
it's left, right, back.
Ready?
Oh, that's 1 pip for this guy. 0 pips for you.
Oh man, that's so good. He's like, hold on, my pockets are my stacks. I got racks on racks now. That's crazy now. Hold on a second. Why are my pockets so
gosh.
heavy? 200 gold.
I just checked my
Let's go.
bank account. I'm up $1 million.
Yo!
That's crazy.
But you're right. Those objective fights are going to be an interesting point to look at for Unforgettable Dance, and we also are going to have to get into the game to find out how it all shakes up. So the dance is up, clocked in or locked in, and we're ready to hop into the pitch to see what's what. Let's get on in there and get into the fight because, again, it's about that bridesmaid tale. Unforgettable Dance, formerly known as Baile Inolvidable, before Sunprod joined the squad, oftentimes getting eliminated right here at this point in the bracket. But can they rise above? Clocked in are the only thing stopping them.
And just like we expected, Tagveer in the jungle with this Achilles pick, Karmic over there in solo lane. That's kind of what we understand for these gods. Taking a quick look at the relics, I think is going to be the true talking point here. Because we have the blink again for Tagveer. But who can abuse the fact that Tagveer doesn't have beads? I'm looking at Rongyu, and I'm looking at Sunprod. Very easily applied CCs. It's just lines, just hit him. Also, this means that Golden should be able to peel for himself with the, Mark plus Ricochet combo should Tagveer show up. But we know that because of CC buffering the way that it works, Tagveer blinks, starts the shield bash. Doesn't matter if you stun him in
Yeah.
response, you still get stunned. So it's still kind of a tricky spot to be in for anybody that Tagveer jumps on.
I love Happen on Yamoja, by the way. Happen, I think, plays backline support so well. And Yamoja is one of the best in the business right now, so definitely keep an eye out, especially because... Wait, hold on. I do have a shell. I see one from the Sun Wukong, so the stocks are back up.
We are so in there. And what I like about it for Sun Wukong is, like I said before, he's using his ultimate to have a second health bar, basically. And you know that that's the game plan because he's got the Bluestone start, so he's going to be going for more of that Umbral Link start. And what are we doing?
Trying to steal a purple buff and now trying to steal the life. The Sunder's what finishes it off. Happen shows just how premium they are on that pick. First blood grabbed there by the support. And both purple buffs are still up, by the way. You saw the supports were battling over the one at the bottom, and the carries were looking for the one up top. No steal grabbed there still for Rongyu, but at the very least he gave it the good college effort. Nonetheless, clocked in, start strong.
It's definitely a choice to make, as opposed to maybe just trying to confirm your own. But when you know that Happen has that Sunder online, maybe that's just the gamble that you try to go for. But Golden, this Hou Yi, is still in a lot of danger until they have their dash up. So definitely a rough start here for the dual lane. Clockton will be able to take that, not run away with it per se, but Agni and Yamoja have a lot of damage. They can definitely contest just about anything they want to.
Yamoja can contest that purple buff too. I'm curious to see who ends up actually picking it up around their waist. Scylla did manage to grab it for some reason, wearing it too. And it goes with her outfit. It matches the aesthetic, but I feel like Hou Yi could have put it to better use.
I mean, you know, she just has that purple vibe about her. And Rongyu still had the Sunder available, so they'll be able to have that cake and eat it as well. I'm glad we have kind of a, I mean, there was a death like right at the start of the game, but this feels already a little bit slower for both teams as they start to try to feel each other out. It gives us a chance to maybe talk about what we can expect between Sunprod and Tagveer from this jungle like matchup. And I really feel like Sunprod is waiting to get that Anvil of Dawn online, whereas Tagveer does not need anything like that. Rongyu, of course, to get away with Zoe.
Math.
Sunprod says, to hell with level 5, let's go in now.
The stun's only going to be able to find the Yamoja, but the TP is good. Who do we decide to go for? Split targeting Golden, caught between the two, and is going to come up with none. That's so unfortunate. Just goes to show a bird in the hand, better than two in the bush.
Tagveer's power spike Delo is going to come from this Learning Bow. Not from their level 5, it's going to come from that item. Once this Learning Bow is online, then this Achilles starts to get active. Also, that was a really good Moonstrike that we had from Happen just then. Over the wall, cuts off Sunprod, who also doesn't have bees, they have Aegis. So again, this Thor is also very vulnerable to CC. These junglers definitely got to start thinking about Magi's Blessing sooner rather than later too. I think it was a 4th slot build for Tagveer before. I would wager a 3rd. Like, there's just so much easily applied CC on both sides, and especially for a character like Thor who wants to get on top of you, who wants to be able to get that spin off the Anvil of Dawn. You're gonna get CC the moment you drop on top of a Herc, an Achilles, an Agni, maybe a Hecate if you get Mez, not as much, but it's there. Open the Gates is there. Those are scary tools to go up against. You need an answer in pocket.
Sunprod seems to be to just not go for the fights and go for the farm. Instead, they actually took the blue buff away from Karmic, who's now a level down, just ticked over to level 5, whereas my friend Dishonor was already in that party before. That's really good, especially considering how powerful Karmic can be. It seems that Sunprod is respecting that potential.
Well, and the thing between Dishonored and Karmic, the Wukong versus Hercules lane, the reason I said before that Wukong shouldn't lose is because Wukong doesn't have to fight the Hercules. They really don't. Between Cudgel and Bluestone, you clear that wave, and you can throw out the Master's Will, Giant Circle, extra whatever bit of damage you need, and then just ox away. There's no reality where this Wukong should ever be forced to interact with this Hercules, and that's why Dishonored should be very safe.
It's only ego that can result in your own end, which, you know, as a Smite Prime player, you might have a bit of, especially with the pedigree that some of these players pack. It's a Moonstrike that misses on top of the Scylla, and Thor is still waiting in the wings, has Anvil of Dawn ready. but is not in the best position to actually rise to the sky without giving anything away. So no fight quite just yet. About 5 minutes in, about a 1,000 gold lead here, and a 1 kill lead as well for Clocked In.
I mean, with Gold Fury going to be respawning, or I guess not respawning, but true spawning here in just a second, I really feel like we should be putting a lot more emphasis on that left side, just like Sunprod is right now. Actually went in there. Didn't need to ult. It's a Wukong, actually. It's going to be ulting over in solo, and Sunprod backs off there in the duo. So again, whole lot of nothing going on, but I attribute a lot of that to do with the fact that both teams have a lot of safety inherent with their characters. You know, Hou Yi's got the leap that comes out frame 1. Scylla's tanky. He's got Zoe. Wukong has ult. Hercules never dies. Paul is Paul. So it's really going to be these objective fights where blood really starts to spill, because without that, I feel like nobody has a real reason to commit anything.
Well, the objective fights spill out. It really does seem like Clocked In have got some great tools to leverage, but that Vulcan is the big thing to look at, too. Big waves to look at as well. What a great Rivers Rebuke. Should have got that shell on the left side of the map. Wrong you made the wrong move, and they're dead first. Golden able to dash back to safety. One more kill in the pocket of Clocked In.
Kind of crazy how Tagveer corralled both Wrong You and Golden into that little nook against the T1, and that ult from Happen was just A1. Now you have Sunprod trying to show face around this Gold Fury. And again, like you said, the shell is over in solo lane. So if any more walls pop out, it's just a tough spot to be in.
Sunprod puts up the wall, but doesn't really get much from it. At the very least, though, your presence was able to dissuade them from the objectives. That doesn't mean that you'll lose too much out of it. Mid lane, meanwhile, has been a kind of a creative Minecraft server. Paul might have to finally face down a mob. It's Sunprod, an awfully scary one. Open the gates, though, ensures their safety and forces Sunprod to back off. Between this Vulcan and Hecate, who benefits more from just kind of being left to their own whim?
I honestly think they both come out okay. Vulcan definitely has the potential to put out more damage here. Damage you might need, because Tagveer just constantly searching around in that jungle. That type of aggressive mindset. But I think they're both kind of okay with it. I don't think one god comes out ahead of the other one per se. I really do feel that it benefits the player Paul the most, though, because giving Paul time to farm and operate and giving him that sense of safety, and more importantly, not taking steps to put him specifically down, is going to keep Clocked in a position where their mages are going to be able to hit those power spikes. We're cruising to our route up to Hootie, and suddenly you don't have to worry about as many things going on.
Nothing too much to worry about here unless your name is Vulcan, because that Yemoja is starting to lurk in the wings. Scylla's going to be following shortly after, but Baron area at least does have the eye on it. These life binders, you saw just how impactful it was prior, and both supports have got it rocking as their first item. Does, though, mean those talismans, those are going to be off the mark for a little bit longer, and that could be a bit scary considering how much CC is available. Gold Fury on mind, but is it going to be in anyone's pocket?
What this Lifebinder does is offer a lot of sustain to anybody who's getting in there and getting in the brawl. And I feel like with this Thor, it's especially handy. Some scuffling happening around this Gold Fury, actually. So it looks like Happen takes a bit of poke, and the Scylla keeps walking up.
Yeah, not stopping anytime soon. You cannot ground me.
Whoa.
I put you in the ground instead. Thor splits the difference between 3. That's an unfortunate indeed. But they're at least going to have the wall and TP combo to get some good damage on to Happen. But no hammer means no escape, baby. No Ares necessary. Fatal Strike instead results in prods. And Tagveer followed up. This fight's been deforested. The two mids going to join, lock horns around the pit. Doesn't seem like anyone wants to actually put anything down except for the Naga, which does go the way of Clocked In. Solid steal by Paul.
Hey, Tagveer just waited out Sunprod's Aegis there to get that Fatal Strike off. And with that down, Sunprod doesn't really have a whole lot that they can go. And again, the fact that we don't see a shell readily available for the people getting caught inside this Yemoja ultimate really is just coming back to bite Unforgettable Dance in the butt. You gotta respect Odin Cage. You gotta respect the Rivers Rebuke, especially with Happen. It feels like there are no cracks to slip through when Happen throws up that Rivers Rebuke. And it feels like sometimes you'll watch these Yemoja players throw up their walls. You're just like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna walk out that corridor. I'm gonna leave off stage left. I'm gonna escape through here. Not Happen, dude. Happen throws up the walls, and you're like, whoa, I'm in danger. And all of a sudden you're looking at a black and white screen like, wish I had a Helm of Darkness.
No, Happen is the best plumber ever. No leaks ever. You guaranteed. They're doing such a great job at making sure that it's no, genuinely. They're making sure there's nothing. Yippee! That's what you're saying if you're Happen right now. You feel great. You're 1-0. You got the first blood. You're a level ahead of your competition. Across the board, though, things are looking pretty solid for Clocked In. 10 minutes, 3-1, a 2,000 gold lead, and no Gold Fury even gotten yet to boot. And a lot of that is also between Tegveer and Sunprod. We asked how the matchup's going. So far, all Achilles.
Yeah, up 2 levels, 2 kills, and it's because Tegveer, now that they got their Lernium Bow online, they can just harass anybody on the map. And it really feels like Sunprod hasn't had a chance to really pop off. They split the difference between 3 people with the ultimate before. Rongyu had a I'm a monster ready to go. Just haven't seen any abilities connect. Haven't had a successful gank or rotation so far. So really just need the store to start making some plays across the map. Pull beads. Start a fight. Get in there or commit yourself to the farm. I feel like trying to do both at the same time for a character like Thor is just not what you want to do.
Yeah, get you a jungler can do both might not actually be the right means of action in this scenario. But you can tell that Sunprod really is itching for someone to try to pull his objective. They don't want to be the ones to do it because Unforgettable Dance are batting from behind at the moment. And you still got great tools. That I'm a Monster is not quite the best secure, but alongside that Vulcan ult, it would be great. So you're kind of waiting for Clocked In to make the first move because you don't feel like you have the right to, but maybe that inaction is what's really going to cost you.
And I do like that call out as well, because Clocked In doesn't have a lot in the way of confirm aside from Happen Sunder. Yeah, you've got a fair amount of burn from Hydrogen, especially now that you have, you know, Frenzy Dagger or Lernium Bow, you got your Agni aspects, so you're really just throwing out these auto attacks and getting the big burst, but it's going to be Unforgettable Dance that dictates the pace of who gets to have this Gold Fury. And that's why you kind of see a lot of grouping around it. Sunprod, maybe fishing for something on that left side.
Last time we saw an Anvil of Dawn, it missed 3 members. You got to make sure those are more on target to have greater success. But just some support scrapping, and with those life binders in pocket, it really means nothing except for some player damage padding of stats, which, speaking of, the front lines are at the very top. Look at Clocked In. That Herc and Yamoja sitting pretty and cheesing.
I mean, I talk about it a lot. Yamoja does so much damage. She's so good. And not only does she give you extra objective burn with that Moonstrike, you stand in the center, more attack speed, basic attack damage, all that good stuff, but she just throws out constant abilities to just smack you. And now she's got this Lifebinder as well, and a Magi's Cloak. So Happen is making sure that they are just constantly safe, can go for those Sunders, can go for the damage that they need, and can really tank a lot of the CC that Unforgettable Dance can throw out. I like it on second slot here specifically for Yamoja, just because it feels like she's such an aggressive support. You don't want to get caught out by a Thor wall early on in a fight and just get obliterated.
Speaking of Thor, man, we talked about how important the level 5 was. I'm starting to eat those words, and Sunprod's eating a lot of poke from the Naga red buff combination. Might just be another objective being left to Clocked In. You do have the Earthshaker available from Barrow. They will launch it to try to find the damage. Not going to even be enough to finish the job. And now Achilles can just re-enter the fray. Anvil of Dawn used as well. 2 massive teamfight ultimates, but at the very least got the Naga. Do you get your own life? Great Bees ensures the driving strike will not force Baronary further into danger. And the Scylla I'm a Monster going to add a bit more on top. Chalice popped and Rongyu able to dodge that knockup. Forces the beads off the Herc, and they're just going to agree to lick their wounds and go back to their respective sides. Whoa! Happens! Steals it! Away, at the very least, tries to make sure that Golden can't and takes their life as well. So overall, a Naga for a Gold Fury in your carry? That's a trade Clocked In are happy to take.
What, and even more, looking over at the Pyromancer, Vulcan doesn't have the ultimate, so Baronary walks up to take it, but that's a risky fight. Honestly, I don't like any of this for Unforgettable Dance. Clocked In could swing this easily.
Gets that great cripple, almost finds Tegveer, but almost does not get you much more than a pat on the back.
Karmic!
And Karmic's maybe giving him a bit too fiercely. Pats Baronary right back 6 feet under. Does get that pyro for Unforgettable Dance, but can they escape is the question. Rongyu gets to disengage with the Sentry. Sun Wukong decides to re-enter the fray to try to dissuade them from further pursuit of the Scylla. But now maybe the Scylla's going back in to save you. It wasn't even needed. Strike 1, Happen, takes him down.
It's going to be some Wukong against the world, but Karmic is super healed up. They got the Bladed Boomerang plus that Rego
He's
Strider.
big.
So, again, constant mitigations. He's huge. Clocked in. You know what? I really feel like Unforgettable Dance right now is suffering from the fact that a lot of their abilities that are supposed to win them fights are just not hitting. There's one for you. Finally, Sunprod gets a bone and picks off Happen, but the Thor ultimate didn't hit quite right. Like, yeah, you were able to have Wrong You come up and steal the Pyromancer, but Clocked In are able to take even more lives after the fact, and they get the Gold Fury, and they kill Golden on the left side. Feels like Clocked In is just running away with this game right now.
And that's crazy when you consider the fact that Unforgettable Dance have got all the mass mobility options, right? This Thor, I'm going to go back to it before we saw that fight go down. You're not initiating the fights. When are we seeing an Anvil of Dawn gank someone in lane? It's being used when everyone knows it's coming, but never in a moment where it's an ambush strike. And that's unfortunate because you really want that element of surprise.
Well, and two, when do we see this Anvil of Dawn hit anybody or gank somebody in lane? And how many people have beads? It's just Karmic and it's just Paul. So realistically, Hydrogen should be a target focus. He should be dying way more than he is. You should be able to have a Thor wall, a Thor like ultimate you can throw down on top of there. Golden as a ricochet. We could put more pressure in this dual lane, but we're just not putting pressure anywhere. We're kind of floundering.
Floundering in the waves, Vulcan's got to learn to swim quick. Open the gates, nearly results in their end. Triplicate Vision can't finish it. The Spell Eater neither. So at the very least, Barrow stays alive, and Sunprod decides to pick on Happen once more. I'm a Monster taking some big bites of crime and gonna miss the bites on the Hekate. That's okay. Golden will take that kill instead. That's a great fight from Dance, and it's all because Barrow stays alive.
That's huge. And finally, we get to see Sunprod do something, because we know he's capable. It's Sunprod. But coming up on this mid lane, as Unforgettable Dance tries to take down this tower, I worry. Is Hydrogen going to go in for something here?
Gets the stun on one. Achilles tries to look for Wrong You in the meantime, knowing that Sun Wukong can just go back into that cloud. The big bad boulder not going to do much other than roll right on past. And Sun Wukong leaps to safety. So Unforgettable Dance with that fight, starting to reverse the pressure a little bit. 4-6, only 3K down. They can certainly come back.
We just got to get this Ratatouille online for Vulcan. Then Bayonary really starts to smack out of this mid lane. We get that Rye, we get some pens. Suddenly, we can blow up Happen, who is still waiting to get all their prots online. As much as I like having this Magi so early, traditionally this is not an item that carries a lot of prots with it because of that raw value of being able to CC immune an ability. So this does mean that this Umoja is vulnerable right now. Vulnerable in a way that you could just kind of burn down their health bars. So maybe try to look for them. Try to look for the picks you can have. We're not looking at Karmic. We're not looking at Paul unless we can catch them without ultimate.
Wrongyu's looking awfully hard at Karmic. I don't know if that's really the best place to put your peepers on, though. So they decided to ignore. FG is potentially on the mark. I would imagine that's a bit too rich for their blood, and they agree. Pyromancer instead, going to be centered by Unforgettable Dance. This is great. They're recognizing that we have the tools. We can dictate fights around objectives, but can we secure them? Sunprod says yes. That's going to go the way of order. Wrong You pops their ultimate just to ensure CC immunity. But hey, if you don't lose any members and you get the objective, I'm not mad about that. Unfortunately, Clocked In have the similar side of the idea.
Tegvir's just soloing a Gold Fury. Low key. NBD is the Agni will swoop in just to make sure we get that last bit of damage. Low key, high key, mid key, all the keys. Playing a song over here. It's a song of objectives. While Clocked In loses that Pyromancer, I think getting that Gold Fury, that's just strictly better. Honestly, you get your second Gold Fury pip, so now your minions are going to be enhanced. That makes your I missed something. What are we getting?
Dude, Hydrogen was backing there, just wantonly in front. Golden stares at him, has a ricochet in pocket. You see he's immobile, and Sunprod misses the double tap. I feel like we are underestimating between what you've said and what we're not seeing from Dance. They are underestimating how much impact Hydrogen is going to have on this game.
I mean, especially they've got Frenzy Dagger, the Tearfing, and their pen online, so the damage that comes out from this Agni is going to be very significant, but also just a 2-level lead over Golden. Yeah, I 100% agree. Kind of a missed opportunity there.
Now we're taking it in the 2v1. Now we're taking it, Golden. This is not getting well for you, I promise. Dash down as well. The beads will not save you, buddy. I promise. Tegvir puts their head on a spike.
And the Aegis comes out clutch for Hydrogen as they're able to just soak up a little bit of extra damage and bait forward Golden. Now, Clocked In with a man advantage, get to look for something in this mid lane.
I'm so upset that they did that. I'm so upset because Golden is playing this relatively well, but you just got to choose the fights in better spots. This one's not too shabby. Some okay poke applied, but Baronary's got no beads this time for the driving strike, and Hercules has got plenty of CC to offer. The waves come up just in time. You're not going anywhere, but the Grayscale. Tegvir will take him down. Open the gates is actually going to be shrugged off since the knockup got Scylla out of the portals. That's A-okay. The damage is still good. 2 kills overall. A tower as well. You can't complain if you're clocked in.
And Karmic is just up there in the front line, soaking every bit of damage, fighting off 3 people and doesn't care. This Hercules never has to die, as FG Pit is the focus now for Clocked In. Hercules is that bodyguard. You can't get in this club.
They don't have Baronary. They don't have the secure Rongyu's ultimate's finally going to be used, but only to escape, and not even that's going to be allowed. Tegvir puts the little girl at the end of the spear and is going to look for the FG next. Everyone from Unforgettable Dance has to sashay away just to ensure they don't meet the same fate. FG on all 5.
This Achilles jungle pick does a ridiculous amount of damage. Being able to charge your Fatal Strike and then launch your Lernium Bow while the Fatal Strike is going to confirm your execute. What do you mean? That's disgusting. I love it when players just kind of come out of the woodworks with a pick and go, man, you know, wouldn't it be funny if we could build Lernium Bow and Achilles? You go, well, what does that do for you? Oh, you gotta stun it, you get some damage. Oh, okay. Hey, remember when you can use your items while you're using abilities? Oh no.
Now we're cooking. Dishonored might be next up on the menu. Already out of that 72 transformations. Thor arrives, finds the ultimate, but a bit too late to save Sun Wu. At the very least, you finally recognize the threat that is Hydrogen. Sadly, there's Karmic standing right next to him. Second strike, you're out of there. It's a 2-for-1.
A game of seconds there too. The Aegis from Hydrogen was just about to come up, but Sunprod is able to find that kill. But I think we're at a stage of the game, though, we can talk about Karmic, who the solo lane has been kind of quiet for us until just recently where this Hercules gets to show up. But I feel like this Herc is going to have a bigger impact than this Wukong, because the Wukong isn't building that full damage, and this Hercules is a full tank with the Genjis and the Ninian. A lot of cooldown means that they're constantly healing, and again, there's no anti-heal from Unforgettable Dance. So Karmic gets to fight forever, especially now that they have FG. They should just be able to live through almost anything that Unforgettable Dance throws at them, unless you do like a coordinated effort. It takes a village to kill a Hercules, and honestly, you're not running at all cylinders to be able to do it.
Yeah, just 1 or 2 peasants coming out, and Scylla might be put up on the execution block first. Tegvir takes them down. There was no one from Dance even around to support the Scylla. Support the support, and unfortunately that means that she's going to be sleeping with the fishes for a bit longer. And I'm also looking at the items board, man. I see exactly what you asked for. Achilles got that Magis, an item earlier.
But where is the Magis for Sunprod? It's not there. We're still opting for more damage, so Sunprod's going to be more vulnerable to the CC, whereas Tegvir has that CC Moon Ultimate to barrel through anything, and then also a Magi's to be able to kind of survive these pokes back and forth from a Vulcan or from a Thor. So ultimately, I feel like Clocked In is itemizing better. I feel like they're playing the map better. Their team fights have been going significantly better. We're looking for an opportunity for Unforgettable Dance to turn it around, but that opportunity is not going to show itself if we find ourselves getting picked off alone, if we're not grouping up properly for these fights, and Clocked In just hasn't given Unforgettable Dance any chance or room to breathe.
23 minutes, 5-12 here. Clocked In, 11K ahead, and a message to say, you guys are not going to have your day. Stay on the sidelines. We are at the altar. We are the ones to beat.
It's a dangerous position to be in here. Clocked In will have FG for another 40 seconds or so you need to do something with that before the time goes up. If you're Unforgettable Dance, you're mostly just trying to get some farm online, knowing that Clocked In isn't going to try to end the game for a minute, unless your Vulcan gets picked out. Bayaneri is dead again.
Oh, God.
This won't spell the end, but it is going to spell the end of maybe a Phoenix or two.
If one more death goes down, I say that honestly very well could be the end of the world as we know it. Or at least if you're on Dance's side. Ronghyu Gets the cripple, sets up I'm a monster, but a great Aegis from Hyjin ensures no further damage will be had. Ultimate going to be expended there by the Sun Wu. They retreat back to safety, and Sunprod can't find any. Tegvir takes them down as well. The trickle, the filter, it all results in blood on the hands of Clocked In as the Hercules winds around that corner to cut off the escape. Unforgettable Dance are evicted from their own home. They can't even get back to base. Sun Wukong will go down swinging, and Hoi Yi's running for the fences.
Even with 3 dead, Clocked In can't get too frisky here. That tier 2 is still up, but if Hoi Yi never gets a chance to back, that means there's no opposition here, because what is wrong you gonna do except watch it horror?
Oh God, the Hercules pursued him all the way across the coast to ensure that he never could get back home. There is no home. It's been taken away by Clocked In. They'll advance.
Yeah, it was just a very clean game from Clocked In there. Not any of the messy nonsense we saw in the last one. This was clean-cut Smite 2. Clocked In played the map. Clocked In looked for picks, and then they just had their plan and played their plan. And that is how you win games.
And that is how you advance up to that finals. It might very well be the prophecy you laid out before us. Danzy versus Clocked In. Is it meant to be? Only one way to find out, folks. Stick around. More Smite Prime action after the break. Hello, everyone, and welcome on back to Smite Prime. September Circuit Week 2, where the plays are always premium, and now we're at the peak, the pinnacle, baby, and it's with the two teams that my friend Musi expected. It's going to be Danzy versus Clocked In. As always, D-Lo here in the booth. Once again, Musi joining me right by my side. It's Tess and Morton, man, the almighty eyes in the sky, and Jithens, and basically Billy, your men behind the curtain. Musi, once you blink into existence, what were your thoughts on the last set, or rather last game we just got to see, where Danzy took it in spades? Or Clocked In, rather.
It was, I had a whole bit ready to go in case I didn't blink into existence. So at the end of the day, what we had a chance to see there was Clocked In really showing up and showing the difference in experience and I think mechanics, honestly, in that last set where we just really didn't get a chance to see Sunprod go off with this Thor. I think a lot was leaning for Unforgettable Dance on the jungler to be able to make plays across the map, and it just never really happened. Whereas Clocked In, this Achilles pick from Tegvir, is making waves. Definitely something to keep an eye out for. Are we coming up to ban-worthy? I don't know if we're coming up to ban-worthy for this Achilles pick, but I think this is what we end up picking now instead of Susano, just because the shield bash into Lernium Bow, being able to confirm that damage so easily, and then just the Hydra's Lament, all the damage you're able to throw off, it's just kind of insane to watch in action.
Karmic also got some pretty insane plays. The fact that there was no pressure, like you mentioned, put on that solo lane means that even if I'm not steamrolling, I'm still a Hercules that is unmitigated with my mitigate wounds, that is able to just kind of free knock you up into the sky and tank and spank the entire way home. And then also make sure that Hoi Yi never finds home, just driving them out all the way across the map to ensure they couldn't back for the all-important base defense. That is something you got to watch out for as well. That front line, I think, did so much work. Happen got first blood. The front line was putting in overtime for Clocked In.
And again, too, the shell for Unforgettable Dance was with this Sun Wukong over in the solo lane, and while Happen was able to throw up these River's Rebukes in the dual lane and the mid lane, beautiful ultimates too, by the way, just actually locked down anybody. It means that nobody else from Unforgettable Dance is actually able to escape that scenario. So it really just felt like Clocked In was able to play their plan of, cool, we're going to look for picks and then try to see what we can find after the fact, to earn them objectives and earn them the game, ultimately.
Yeah, Happens River's Rebuke feels like a root as well as the walls too. But Bracket coming at you, we already know what the result is, but nonetheless you can see the pretty picture, rather gruesome one. If you're a fan of any of the teams that fell to the wayside, Clocked In are indeed at these grand finals for week 2, going to be stepping up to face against Danzy. A match made in heaven. We've seen this face-off many times before. They're in third place. You see Unforgettable Dance going up against Strength of Wood as well. But this is just, once again, the top dogs trying to see who gets the bigger scraps from the table.
I will say that Clocked In have a little bit more at stake here with this finals game, just because Danzy already has their number 2 seed, but Clocked In, because they got knocked out round 1, they're really just
That's
trying
true.
to cement themselves for that closed bracket. I feel like there's a little bit more at stake here for Clocked In. You don't want to pass up an opportunity to confirm your spot for when closed bracket comes around.
Make sure that you guys are keeping in mind these first 4 weeks are going to be about the bracket that's preparing for close, which only 8 teams can advance on to. P's and B's coming at you, so let's make sure to watch out for that. Also make sure to watch out for those bingo card slots. Hopefully some big winners have already been announced, but if not, keep an ear out, keep an eye out. Maybe you can be calling bingo in just a second. And Bingo Bongo Musi, what picks should we be looking for between these two fearsome teams?
Do we see the Achilles banned? If it doesn't happen in this game 1, if Clocked In walk away with a win, I think it might happen game 2, because Tegvir is going to be looking for this Achilles pick. It has been instrumental to Clocked In's victory so far, and if he's comfortable on it, he's not going to want to move off. I don't believe he picks it first, though. So Danzy has an opportunity here to maybe pick it away. If Scream wants to maybe take that for a spin and see how that goes, that is something that they can, maybe leverage to their advantage. Otherwise, we're thinking about Aladdin, we're thinking about Merlin. Jingwei's already off the board, be it for Hydrogen or Cyclone Spin. Crazy character. Odin, again, may or may not be a ban here, but I feel like both teams at this stage should respect a Shell or a Helm of Darkness enough to be able to play around that Odin pick.
There's no way we get another Bari jungle. I don't think it was
I don't think
impactful enough. I don't think so either. I think that was I think that's like just its own little microcosm of a game. Like there's Smite 2, and then there's like that game.
Whatever that was.
Like yeah, like that's like a separate DLC package you had to download separately. That's never gonna happen again. Merlin, not gonna happen this game either. Aladdin banned alongside. We talked about this. Scream and Paul, you decide no one can have this god. You wished for it, you're not getting it.
And the Achilles ban. Danzy's been watching. Danzy's been watching, and now Tegvir has to play something else. They're listening. This just in, Danzy, inside your walls, knowing what picks you want to play. But
they have Shell.
I am curious to see where Tegvir shifts their focus to after this Achilles gets banned away. Are we going to see something back in line with the Susanoo even post-nerf? Do they find value in that? Maybe looking over towards... I think Hunbat's is still a really solid pick here. Fear No Evil, being able to have that ultimate. I think there are options available for Tegvir.
Scylla's not going to be one of them in terms of support picks go. So yeah, Danzy are putting a lot of pomp and circumstance in this jungle pick. Scream's an important pick as well, so you want to make sure that you're pampering your jungle player. Nemesis is something I've seen Tegvir go to oftentimes when the Susanoo fails them. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that, but Scream I wouldn't be surprised to see respond with a stun bots in return.
Hecate could also be a contested pick between the two mid laners, just because Paul and Benny Q like to play that goddess, open the gates, plus things like a Gem of Focus, and then the Chronos Pendant, just things to keep yourself constantly moving, get a little bit of damage out there. I feel like there's a lot to argue over. It is going to be the Odin, though.
Okay.
Which, I don't hate this. I don't hate this. If it goes to Bobby or if it goes to Scream. Clocked In just needs to buy Shell and they should be okay, but I swear if we see another kooky draft like we did that other game, I might freak it.
Clocked In going to lock in that Hui instead, so some walls to their side as well. And also some great escape from the cage. The fact that you top block Odin means everyone's going to have a leap. Everyone has a leap.
Yep,
Who is going to have a leap? And that's probably going to Paul.
Yes. Uller mid for Paul here. I guess when you do pick up that Odin right away, it kind of locks Paul out of things like Zeus or Vulcan or anything like that. So now you know for a fact they're going to be going that Uller. You do have options here up against Clocked In already out the gates itemization-wise. Think about things like a Nemean or maybe an Ancile, something like that, to have an answer to these auto-attack-based characters. Squinting at Uller when I say auto-attack. But you're focusing on those autos. You're weaving them into what you do. So... already thinking in terms of itemization, maybe you do want a Spectral just to try to slow that down. Or a Bellona. If you want to be able to shut down auto attacks, I do really like that. Oh, man. Oda!
You want to... Bellona! That disarm's really smart to be able to provide a bit more of an option. Just to Shield bash, eat those block stacks, disarm, dish it back out. You can't auto at all. No more basic training for you. Princess Bari uses those autos a bit herself, but to what effect? Is this going to be Scream's story once more? Yamoja tells a tale of walls again. Now Danzy got to make sure that they're paying attention to that relic slot too, and that Hekate hover, love to see it. Paul's been playing this god peerlessly all day.
But then where's Uller going if this
Wait,
Paul is going to be on Hecate? Is that
Okay.
an Uller jungle for Tagveer? Is Tagveer playing characters we can hit a stun and then just launch a Lernium Bow? Is that where the item is in terms of
the
this
theme.
is that good to be able to have? I don't hate it. I still think Uller offers quite a bit of mobility through the jungle, a lot of kill potential. You're able to walk up, find an axe, somebody dies. Princess
Wow.
Bari, I think, is not able to do that quite as much. Well, we're still thinking about that Omni pick, but I like the Wukong pick here for Cherry. Well, wait. for
Wukong
Cherry.
now sinking to the bottom of the draft, right? How strange is it? And yeah, we don't even know. I have no idea. The Sun Wukong has only been played in solo lane so far. I don't think I've ever seen much different, except for that one time we saw Sun Wukong support rocked by Inbound. Not too successfully. Maybe that makes a return, though, Musy. Maybe Inbound says, no, I swear, guys, it cooks, I tell ya. On her is going to be the final lock in there for Danzy.
It's gonna be a bar jungle. It's gonna be a bar.
No way. No way.
It's gonna be a bar jungle.
No.
I think that's a Wukong
No,
mid.
I'm looking at that. I mean that. I'm looking at that. Look
Yeah.
at that.
What are we looking at? Oh!
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 There he is. That's the big boy. He's such a big steak. Wahoo!
Oh.
All right.
That's a
Interesting.
big one.
So, Jormungandr and Smite 2
Jungle.
has had some changes. Yeah, jungle. Oh, nah. I don't think so.
Dang
but
it.
I think as a solo laner, definitely some potential there. He's still... How do you explain Yorm in Smite 2? He feels different
Smack.
from how he did in Smite 1. He's still kind of brawly, but I think the big difference for him now is that you can go things like the Death's Toll or, you know, these attack speed items where you can go Sunbeam Bow, Bragi, silliness with the breath, but I don't think that's how you play him necessarily. If you remember in Smite 1, what this Jormungandr was able to do was be very brawly, very tanky, throw down a bunch of pools and kind of have a big teamfight presence, literally, big snake, but have that giant teamfight presence of, I'm going to force some CC on you, I'm going to jump all over, and then have this big AoE damage and then just breathe on somebody. What he really offers here is anti-heal with those pools and just being a general annoyance. I think for a player like Karma, Jormungandr works pretty well here. He can't be hit by things like an Ox or displaced at all just because he's got that passive going on for him. But he does suffer in that I think he's low impact in terms of CC. You are very reliant on what your Yamoja and what your Uller are going to be able to set up for you because Yorm can't do it unless he gets that knockup right out of his,
Yeah.
you know, that invincibility. Or starts off with the teamfight ultimate of jumping in on top of people, but then you're kind of stuck in the middle of dodge with no real way out. He's full commit, full damage, and into an Odin cage, Bellona especially. Oh my god, imagine the interaction. Bellona shield bashes a Jormungandr, he breathes on it, and then immediately kills himself because if you've been able to stack up any kind of shield stacks, it goes ba 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 ba, and all of a sudden the snake's like, okay, I'd like to go home. I'm gonna, that teleporter right over there, I'm gonna take that. You guys have fun. We're done here. No more, please. God, thank you. I've had enough.
Yeah, this is a really controversial pick. I really like it, though. I'm not gonna. I like how silly we're getting. And to be fair, guys, keep in mind, finals best of
silly.
3, so they have some room to play with.
Yes.
Clocked in, have got momentum, and maybe the vibes are high enough that they're just like, nah, this eats. This absolutely eats. You're gonna see.
This eats.
Everyone's gonna watch. It very well could. Like, this could be T. Jormungandr, T. But here's what I'm going to say in response to what you mentioned. I don't want to see that initiating a fight with the World Serpent. I think that's such an obvious means of going about it. And like you said, it's great for cutting off disengage and forcing Danzy to like bob and weave and take slower approaches to try to get out of a fight rather than to start one. You want to start a fight? Yamoja. Hoi Yi, I think those are great tools. And it's got the combo that you always talk about, the training wheels combo. Moonstrike into Axe, so many ways to make sure that these stuns all layer on top.
Moonstrike for a Jormungandr could have some implications too, because if Yorm stands in the center of the Moonstrike, they get some extra basic attack damage and attack speed. So that's something. an interaction to maybe think about, but it really depends on
thinking.
where this Yorm is going. I'm all but convinced solo lane. And when it comes to the itemization of what a Yorm's going to be building in solo lane, I kind of wonder like what kind of starts you want to have. Death's Toll to me is not the strongest option available for Jormungandr. When I was doing a little bit of testing and a little bit of playing with him, I kind of fell back on, if you remember in Smite 1, you'd play Yorm solo, you'd get yourself a Conduit gem to be able to just clear the wave super fast. So I wonder what Karmic is going to be able to pull out in their own lane, and definitely taking some notes for myself.
We'll be finding out rather shortly as we hop into game. Danzy and Clocked In step up to see who is the real top dog of the top dogs. And Muzi, look across the board. What do we got here?
It is, in fact, the Princess Bari jungle for Scream. Well, I guess they won that game that they pulled this out, but I still wonder what she's able to bring to the table in the grand scheme of things. It's a Princess Bari with a blink. Do you want to die? Is that the goal? Not a lot of safety to be had with that. So I'm kind of keeping my eyes on that. Bari's going to be very easy to lock down, especially, yeah, you have the ultimate to save your life, but like it saves you once. So any kind of dot damage, any follow-up, anything is going to be kind of tough for Scream. But where I'm really looking, D'Lo, is Karmic in this Jormungandr. Bluestone makes so much sense because each of the pools should proc a Bluestone proc. So if you get multiple pools on anybody, be it a wave, an objective, a person, that's going to do a lot of damage really quickly.
You know what's not going to be doing much damage? The magical side of the spectrum from Danzy. It's only Scream. It's only Scream, Muzi. And given how long Bari takes to get online, that's really scary.
You know what else is kind of scary? Tagveer with the Hou Yi jungle. That's,
Man,
what? There's a lot of funkiness going on today.
yeah, what's going on in the
in the
water? Apparently, well, it's venomous right now if you're looking at Cherio's side. They were formerly the bully, now they're being bullied instead inbound, receiving that same treatment in the left side. This is the pretty kitty's going to have to try to walk back by their lonesome. No disperse available. Inbound tries to lend a helping hand. Does distract the members of Clocked In enough to keep themselves safe. So no deaths just yet. You know what's also cool about this Yorm? Immune to the displacements that an On Her provides. I know it's going to be a while before we see it, but at the very least, you don't got to worry about the impale stuns.
And something that I think is worth mentioning for this Jormungandr, the way that they use wind sprites, if anybody out there is wondering, instead of jumping through the wind sprites, they actually just get a movement speed buff. So Yorm jumps on top of it and he just zooms. So that's how he's able to use those wind sprites. And while you're correct, D'Lo, Scream is the only source of magical damage. I don't think we want to get in the mindset of, oh man, Dancy's going to be hurting for damage opportunities, especially for squishies, because this Wukong will half health either Tagveer or Hydrogen or Paul. Late game scaling pick, this Wukong Cudgel is going to hit like a truck. It's going to do so much. So Benny Q and Danzy, everybody is waiting to get to that late game. Honestly, both this Bari and this Wukong.
Bari going to blink in instantly to a Mez. Nice. Great hard CC there from Paul to keep themselves safe, and a blink going to be unfortunately wasted. You know what else I'm seeing, Muzi, that's got me a bit concerned? Karmic's health bar. They might go down right now. Cherio trying to get the 1v1 off, but the minions are going to have the last laugh as they're the only ones that survive the encounter. But at least no first blood just dropped yet. Muzi, what I am seeing, though, in this relic department, it seems that Clocked In bought all the shells off the shelf. Danzy have none, and you're underestimating Happen if you don't think it's going to be impactful.
Well, yeah, but think how many people can get away from that again. Bobby and Cyclone should be able to jump away from that River's Rebuke, so at least it's not as dire straits. But if you're Benny Q or if you're Screamer Cherry, you're right. You're going to get caught in that shell, so maybe look at like a Helm of Darkness or something along those lines, or potentially a gank in the dual lane.
Just try to kill him instead. Lands on top of the axe for the Odin. The glorious leap back forward. The Riptide going to ensure a speedy recovery, potentially. Drop down very low. Finally, someone recognizing the threat that Hydrogen is. But here comes Tagveer with the counter gank now. Slowed down by the hail of arrows. Gets that marker to grow. The ricochet to happen. Scores another first blood. Tegvir follows it up onto inbound. The Suns come dropping down. Don't you wish you had a shell now? But Bari is able to tiptoe around.
Just a crazy counter rotation there from Tegvir. That bounce did so much damage. Caught Cyclone right against the wall. So this Hou Yi is going to be definitely a scary thing to deal with when it comes to the rotations, because what a Hou Yi does on rotate is mark you, they gotta jump in, they can get you a knock and get a ricochet. Again, what does Bari do? Die.
DBZ in the mid lane. BennyQ and Paul trade their lives out. Hydrogen takes a bit of a better deal up against Cyclone Spin. Didn't even have to sacrifice anything for that. Dual lanes looking all clocked in, but at the very least, Danzy can score something on the kill board.
As we, camera pans over towards the solo lane, I do want to talk a bit about what a Jormungandr versus Bellona lane looks like, because both of these characters, in my eyes, are bullies. Kind of tough to play against. Cherio just barely gets away, but with the World Serpent...
How good are your juke shoes this time around, Bellona? Good enough. The World Serpent will agree. Karmic decides to not be too risky for the biscuit. And now it's a Bari making a rotation on over. If Karmic oversteps, they could find themselves in a spot of bother. BennyQ now, we should talk about this as well, on the Sun Wukong. First time we've gotten to see this character be played in this pilot's hands. What does that look like? How does the gameplay change from this role?
So for Wukong, it doesn't change too much. Ultimate comes out from screen. Karmic, kind of a tough spot here, invisible, but the positioning of where he's going to go is pretty easy to understand. The blink in from Scream. The damage just barely enough. Feel like that took quite a bit. Your late game scaling character needs to get to late game, and Cyclone Spin is dead too.
1-for-1 across the board once more, but at the very end, at the very least, doesn't feel the worst to lose a solo and a carry. Either way, the Gold Fury is going to be the bigger prize, because you lose that dual lane side member. That instantly opens up an opportunity that Clocked In cannot refuse. Gold Fury goes their way.
So I want to circle back to what you were asking me about what BennyQ does with this Wukong. And the game plan as a Wukong mid doesn't change too much as opposed to your other mid laners. The benefit that Wukong has is that he's a long-range poking Mad Lad that does a ridiculous amount of damage to characters that don't have prots readily available to them. Like, it's just so hard to get away. This Bobby takes a lot of poke here. The aggression from Clocked In is just kind of ridiculous. But what you're really looking to do as this Wukong playing damage is get wards on the map and just hit abilities over walls. Smack a cudgel on top of somebody's head and then back up. Danzy needs to be careful not to go all in all at once. They want to leverage BennyQ's long-range poke to put health bars down low and then look for an initiation after Clocked In is kind of in the middle of the decision-making of, do we back, do we reset, or do we take this fight? That is the moment that you want to go in.
The poke war is an interesting one, right? Bari can certainly dish out some deeps from long range. Same with the Sun Wu, like you mentioned. But then you also have the Ricochet. Then you have the Training Wheels combo from Hydrogen, which can do so much damage. This Pix on the left side is what we're looking for, but mid lane as well is going to see some damage too. Ult for ult. No one's getting the better hand. Shrugs off that Sun Wukong Staff Slam with the Aegis, but they can't get the kill. It's Spell Eater. Left side, still damage to be found. Cyclone Spin's body has been dropped. And it's going to be the hover right back to safety. Tegvir happily claims the kill.
Feels like things are really starting to heat up across the map. And Jormungandr gets a lot of damage on top of Cherio, forced to ult away with the Eagles rally. But Jorm makes the chase with their own ultimate. 1, 2, 3. Cherry gets out of dodge. And there's the bludgeon as well. Snake's underneath, and Snake in the grass will be able to take out Cherio. But in the left side, another person fell down. Happened. Paid the price too.
Something is in the air, I swear to God. This is such an aggressive look from these two top teams who normally like to play things far closer to the vest. 7 minutes, 7 kills. You're right on track, Clocked In. 4K up ahead as well, thanks to that Gold Fury. It's looking good, but Danzy, they scale, baby. They have some really good late-game scaling characters, like that Bari, like this on her as well. How do we make sure that we can make it to that threshold?
I mean, it's the same deal as Danzy versus 800 GPM. If you're going to be constantly fighting, look to find small victories either during or after the fights and try to leverage those into larger victories as you go through the mid game. Clockton already did that by finding that gold fear. If you're Danzy, you want to try to accomplish a similar goal. Just play for the picks and then play for the objectives afterwards, or decide to take a step back and confirm the farm that you still have on your map. Before you really go for these engages, just make sure that there's nothing else to really do so that you don't stand to lose farm while you're fighting.
Both these junglers are 2-0, but the difference is Bari does not have any CC immunity, no beads in pocket. So maybe Clockton is going to be looking for her, whereas on the other side, you have an Aegis only for Paul, but Paul is just so gosh darn hard to pin down. Unlike Cyclone Spin, who's getting kind of put in their place. These Moonstrikes do so much damage, Musi. You said it once, we'll say it 1,000 times. Nerf Yemoja, dear God in heaven.
She does so much damage, and it's the training wheels that we have been talking about.
She's top of the player
again.
damage.
One stun leads into the other one. Cyclone Spin's gonna back, but Scream walks up. There's the Odin Cage.
Good Phantom Shell. They've learned their lesson, but maybe not soon enough. Happen's going to go down inbound, takes their head to try to reclaim some player damage pride. It's a rotation coming in a bit late from Paul. They're going to think better of it, but Cyclone is tantalizingly low, and Gold Fury is about to come back up.
So Cyclone Spin, everybody's gonna have to back from Danzy. The potential here to maybe rip a gold is there from Clocked In, but I guess still a little too risky right out the gates. Already, so much being put into this dual lane. Cyclone Spin's 0-4 at this point, D'Lo. Like, there's been so much pressure being put onto this Andre.
Yeah.
I feel like he can't do anything, too. Just because when you get hit by one stun, you're just going to get blown away by the rest of the stuns and damage.
Clocked in, using that damage in the right place. Get another Gold Fury in their pockets. Now about 4,000 ahead 10 minutes into this game. It's by no means untenable. We absolutely can come back, but Danzy have not really been able to find the fair fights they want. I feel like Clockton are beating them on a lot of these rotations. And Happen, I think we talked about this last week. Speak No Evil is lost from Clockton, and that is such an impactful support. Who fills those shoes? Happen is starting to make a very good case for why they're that dude.
It is kind of ridiculous what Happen is able to do with this Yemoja pick too. The River's Rebuke have always been on point. The setups with the Moonstrikes have been there. The damage is very obviously they're still top of the damage player charts. I attribute a lot of that not only to Yemoja but to this Lifebinder start as well. Just so much extra damage and sustain you can find. Cyclone Spin's clearing a red buff and can't even clear it because it gets sundered away by Happen.
Who takes it? Makes sense. Understandable. I'm really the biggest damage dealer after all. My mid laner can fend for themselves. They're not going to have to for long. Hoyi's lurking on that right side, but it's the Ullr you really got to be worried about who's able to leap back to safety on their side as well. And Cherio, man, they were the bullies so shortly ago, but now they're being just chased down by this 20-foot Burmese python. Feels bad. Same with Benny Q dying. Same with Hydrogen going down too. It's a gank on the left, same as a mid. A 1-for-1 across the map.
What's really sad about the Benny Q death there is that they died with ultimate up. We were talking about what a tank Wukong is using their ultimate for as kind of like an extra health bar. The full damage Wukong is doing a similar thing with their own ultimate, but the amount of time you have when you pop that ultimate is much, much sooner. Once you fall down to at least half health, because you have to understand, you are not tanky, not even remotely, you got to start charging that thing up. Because it's going to take like one ability from Paul to be able to put you down into that danger zone where you're like, oh, I gotta get out of here. So you have to train yourself to say, hey, I just lost a quarter of my health. Maybe it's time to go into the sky. Maybe I gotta heal back up a bit. And when you do go in that ultimate, you are loath to take it as an engage tool, loath to start a fight with it. It is there to save your life and to spawn you a little Wu 2 to get some damage off with your cudgels.
A Pyromancer was taken by Clockton alongside the mid-tier 1. Danzy trade out for the left tier 1. Naga is going to be up as the next thing we're fighting over, and Danzy will grab that as well, so they can feel good. Clockton look for a successful disengage. Musi, 4 physicals. Look what Paul is building.
It's a Helm of Radiance again, and it saw some changes recently. More of a shift than a nerf, I believe, just because it's still going to be very, very effective. But basically, they made it so that it stacks, it takes less stacks to get to that full strength, right? But 7 Fizz procs over 4 times. Now, I'm not the best at math, but 28 physical protections is nothing to slouch at.
Might need the magical ones, though, right now, because Happens decided they want more kills. Another soul for the Dark Lord. But it's going to be Tegvir instead takes the last hit on top of Scream. That's okay. Inbound is still available and ready. With that great stun, you might be able to find them, but they had the leap in hand, so Inbound is able to escape over the wall. Clocked in now patrol the jungle like it's their own, and Sun Wukong might find out very quickly this is no longer the right neighborhood to walk down. They do use that ultimate at the right time as requested, but they decide to go back in. That's not what I asked for. Math class is in session, and Benny Q just got a big fat F. Tegvir, unfortunately, got a big fat death courtesy of the rotation from the Lion. Great open the gates, forces 2 members away from Paul so they can get a private session with Cyclone Spin. The Lion's already dead. That aspect of that shield is going to not protect you from the Bellona, but the damage is still good. Not enough. Paul barely not able to kill Cherio. They finally go down.
What a ridiculous amount of damage this Hecate is able to do. That open the gate was perfect. It splits up the fight. Instead of it being a 3v1 for this Hecate, it becomes a 1v1 that they take sequentially. You know, where instead of having to worry about everybody all at once, you just get your 1 kill, you get your cooldowns, you get another kill, you get your cooldowns, so on and so forth. And with this Helm of Radiance, they're able to stand in front of those 3 characters for much longer than maybe anybody was really expecting. The damage can still sneak up on you, because there's like 60 int on that item or something ridiculous like that.
Cherio sticking around for a bit longer past their welcome. That axe is off the mark. You need your training wheels there, buddy. You're not Paul. Happen has got the waves up. Scream tries to drop down the ultimate to keep themselves safe, but Hydrogen's the one now truly in danger. Sun Wukong pursues them, can't get over the wall, but the Staff Slam finishes the job. Hydrogen's dead alongside Happen, and the Sun Wukong's not stopping there. Unfortunately, Hoi-Yi's got a quick dive back beneath that tower, provides safety.
Paul is going to be the lone man to try to take this Gold Fury as Dancy starts putting it up very swiftly. Gets put down. The Cyclone Spin will be able to confirm it for Danzy, so these fights are starting to a little bit go the way of Danzy. But once again, as Pyromancer gets picked up by Clocked In, I'm really looking at what Scream is able to do in these fights. I think we're in this awkward stage, these teenage years for this Bari pick, where they're not going to be as strong as everybody else, and they're in this very awkward position of not having beads or any real way to get away from damage that Clocked In is able to put out. So if Clocked In is able to put even more pressure on this Princess Bari, I really do think that they'll be able to control these fights a little bit more efficiently.
I just think that this is looking to be another slugfest across the board. Once these 2 solo laners get in the business, like, we haven't even gotten to see really what happens when Cherio and Karmic come to play. But at 15 minutes, 9-11 in favor of Clocked In, a 4,000, about 5,000 actually, gold lead going their way as well. And the noose is slowly being wound around this Bellona's neck. You think that you're getting the leg up on Karmic, but Hoi-Yi could try to come over there to correct you. Nah, I got faith in Karmic. They're going to be just fine.
And I want to talk about Karmic's build real quick, too. Like, you have this Triton's Conch, Helm of Radiance, Hide of the Urchin, and then a Glad Shield that you're able to pick up. A lot of Fizz Prots, but also scaling for your Jormungandr damage for those poison pools. But I also really enjoy what this Triton's Conch does for the team. It helps your autos be more effective, but also gives your abilities that extra bit of oomph. But think about when you do objectives, Tegvir, Happen, Paul, Hydrogen are all going to benefit from standing around this big snake. So Karmic is definitely, the way they're building, ready to be a team player, but also just a snake that can live forever.
Fun fact about predators in the animal kingdom, their eyes are fixed on the front of their head to look forward because they only need to lock their eyes on their target, whereas prey, they have their eyes on the side of their head to watch out for looming threats. The Jormungandr has an easy business when they only have one target in front of them, like this Bari, but what happens when the greater fight is in front of you? What happens when the waves come rising up? Are you a sea snake? No, I gotta get out of here. They instead decide to leap on forward. Happen takes Scream as the first head, but the Desert Fury does decent damage there to Tegvir. Odin leaps on in, and the World Serpent's going to see themselves out. Tegvir goes out in a coffin. The cage drops on down, and Paul's got to fall, or Happen at the very least, forced. But then all the members of Danzy come pouring in. A pillar blocks their escape, and Benny Q will leave not a trace. 3 bodies for 1 in favor of Danzy.
Clocked In was just too low to keep going in on that fight. And you had Danzy kind of swoop around, not only coming up from below from that fountain, but also looked like they were coming in from that right side too. But it doesn't look like they'll be able to find anything too much after that fight. Pyromancer's down, Gold Fury's down, and Fire Giant's too risky. Maybe you settle instead for the Jormungandr.
12 to 12 now. Things are all tied up, and I think it's genuinely an omen. It's obviously not always about the kills, but in these moments, you're starting to see your lead slipping. You're starting to see your play slipping. Pyro might be slipping into the grasp of the enemy, unless the Jormungandr can take a well-timed Venomous Haze over the wall. At the very least, let them know that I am present, but can I do much about it is the question. A bouncing bubble over the wall as well. Some solid poke coming out here from Happen. But now Paul's taking your place at the top of the player damage charts, and Happen answers back with objective damage instead. Pyro robbed away by Clocked In.
The giant snake predator that is Karmic, the Jormungandr, eyes forward looking towards this fire giant, it would seem, and this is where I think Clocked In really shines. Their burn is strong, but their ability to turn this fight is going to be stronger.
Bologna around the back has 3 in mind, and a great Eagles rally finds 2 already, but the Cage is going to stall the fight out for a bit longer, keeps Clocked In locked in. The Wave's going to try to do a similar thing, but it does seem that they're able to escape for now. Jormungandr takes to the underground, but Sun Wukong takes to the skies, looking for their mid lane opposition. The Bari ultimate as well does enough to finally make Paul fall down. Sun Wukong still at full as well. The Jormungandr trapped amongst the rest. Can you cut the head off the snake? Indeed, if your name's Cyclone Spin. Tegveer looks for the stun, can't find it. Cherio's able to escape. 2 kills for free for Danzy. They gotta lick those wounds.
Looked like Clocked In got really split up in that fight, and as much as I love this Jormungandr pick, I like what it represents, and I like the, seeing new gods on the field. Bologna is going to be offering so much more in a team fight. That Eagles rally is a quick and immediate, reward for playing. That Eagles rally finds 2. It buys time for Dancy to be able to group up and get in there. The Odin Cage comes down. And that, again, kind of corrals everybody into a space. Afterwards, Clocked In gets kind of pieced apart and split up. And without being there to back each other up, they are all going to fall down. Ancient Fury now. Going to be the look at for Danzy.
Ox trots in slowly to battle, but the real fight's around this objective. Danzy going to try to put up a staunch resistance, but with inbound being so low, they could find themselves in trouble. What a great ricochet! Takes down the owner, or rather the Odin at the very least. Open the gates, swaps them right back in. You're not going anywhere, Cherio. Get over here. Hydrogen will have their head too. Just as soon as you started to say that, Danzy were taking the steering wheel, Clocked In, throw the car in reverse.
We're going back. I will turn this car around. We will not get a Happy Meal. I will walk up through that drive-thru and get a single black coffee. Watch as my kids cry in the back seat. I am that guy, says Clocked In. So they're ready to kind of dish out some punishment and some control. Top of Danzy. Nobody puts baby in a corner, but it does look like Clocked In is going to take a quick look at that fire giant. But Danzy is just not in a position to be able to stand against it. 2 people down. I mean, that's a free FG for Clocked In.
Feels bad. You started to see the seesaw tip the other way. Then we threw on a few more heavyweights. And now Clocked In are looking fresh and ready for the fight. 14 to 14 does not matter when you have FG around all 5 members. 2K gold ahead is not too significant. Danzy can absolutely turn this fight around, but what does the ideal team fight look like for them?
So, it's like I said before, when you have this Wukong mid, you are looking to extend these engagements, have a lot of vision on the map, so that you could just hit your cudgel on somebody and then back up. You have the benefit of range with this Wukong cudgel. You are able to hit somebody in such a way that nobody can respond. Not unless they really try to commit some movement, but by that point, you should either be ulting or oxing away, right? So
yeah,
use that, leverage that, hit Tegveer, hit Hydrogen, hit Paul. Make it so that these squishies don't have room to operate, so that they're scared to walk up, especially the jungler or the ADC. They are going to be the most skittish about trying to take engagements. If you're able to slow play this, that is how you get ahead. Clocked In is just looking to get a fight started all at once. This Wukong is more effective the longer they have to play.
Fortunately, can't get that Olerax off. You're not going to find yourselves too effective at putting the Sun Wukong out of commission. Tegveer forces them into the Somersault Cloud, so at the very least you don't have to worry about that ultimate for a bit longer. Form of a Falcon to escape Happen. Moves up on the front lines. That Ancient Fury did weaken the tier 2, so that's up next.
Clocked In, putting the pressure on is exactly what they have to do if they want to stop this Wukong from operating and slow down the game plan of Danzy. You're really going to be relying on Scream and Bellona to be doing all the damage here.
The Moonstrike can stun that Phoenix to try to extinguish the flames for a moment, but Clocked In are understandably hesitant to try to test. There are some great tools from Danzy to try to lock you into the Phoenix. I'm looking at inbound with that cage. 2 shells, though, when they're all together, Clocked In have got substantial tools to also escape. So instead, we're looking for the easier target. We're looking for the tier 2s.
Should fall down pretty easily. Danzy doesn't want to defend any of these towers. It's going to be the Phoenixes, which should be easier to defend. They're not debuffed by the Ancient Gold Fury, and their defense isn't bad by any stretch of the imagination. Bellona and Odin can buy time.
A Pyromancer's up available. Just go get that, guys. You silly gooses. You silly Sneck. Has to use a Phantom Shell just to evade the pillar. That's not even the main objective in terms of the geographical manipulation abilities they have to their name. Now Odin, speaking of, steps up. BennyQ rises up on a Somersault Cloud once more. That ultimate with that Chronos Pendant on a very short cooldown. They can just wait for a bit longer, but we're going in with the cage. Who does it lock inside? Nobody.
Yeah, Eagles rally. Doesn't find the mark. Yorm's up and down, but there's the River's Rebuke.
Who's going to be caught beneath the rocking waves? It's going to be Scream, left on their own. No magical damage, left to fear. Now these Helms of Radiance are really going to start to pop off. Inbound knows it too. Has got to turn back lest they sacrifice more on the table. Midbird's up first, and the left one might be roasted up next on a spit. Karmic takes underground. They don't quite know where they are. The knockup, very useful in that moment. Cherio popped and dropped. Tegvir will have their head.
And with 2 Phoenixes down, Clocked In have the opportunity to look for more. It's a 3v5, and Fire Giant for 30 seconds, and a minion wave. We're walking up.
This is dangerous territory, but the pillar at the very least slows them down and amps up the damage. Desert's Fury pops happen right back to where they came from, and now Clocked In all of a sudden decide we don't have the stomach for this fight.
Yeah, without Happen there, and the fact that Scream and Cherio are respawning, Clocked In are not able to continue on with this aggression unless maybe you can find a pick there, burn a beads away from BennyQ. But that defense there that we saw from Danzy, the game didn't end, but I would not call that a success. You were able to find a pick on Happen, which is what really convinced Clocked In to back up. That and the fact that their FG ran out. So the game is still on Clocked In's pace. It's still on their terms. Really starting to see the fact that while Danzy has a lot of utility, be it with the cage, with the disarm, with the bludgeon, or not the bludgeon, rather with the shield bash, and long-range poke from a Wukong, we don't have a significant amount of CC to actually lock somebody down for real. When you have shells into this Odin pick, the cage loses a lot of value, and suddenly you have no way to control a fight. Cyclone Spin is going to be one of the few players that are able to get a reliable stun. Otherwise, it's going to be Scream's knockup. We're all going to bush camp and try to find a pick, but these are desperation strats.
Yorm knows too, you can tell. I'm a sneaky Sneck myself. I'm familiar with the way of stealth. But there's going to be caught beneath the red buff pit, a leap forced out. And the Yorm goes in offensive to try to disrupt the rest of the team to prevent them from assisting Cherio, who's caught lacking by themselves. Paul catches them and drops them too. Karmic continues their pursuit alongside the other front line. Happen says, I want revenge, damn it. I'm top damage, or at least was, for a reason. But Clocked In decide, better turn back. We have bigger fish to fry, and its name is an FG.
Danzy has to contest this Fire Giant. If they let this go, that's pretty much the game for them unless they find some crazy Hail Mary play. So here they come.
Sunder up in 3 seconds for the Odin. Cage dropped as well, open the gates. Only going to be eaten by 1, but it's 1 you can't afford to lose. Karmic going to fall first, but Scream right after. BennyQ is dead too. A killing spree for Tegvir. Desert's Fury, you're getting put down for a catnap instead. It's a double for Paul. And the Odin's going to be the last one left standing. Tegvir rings him around the rosy. Inbound gets to try to find some way to survive. Not allowed. A triple for Paul and a bit of a deicide for Clocked In.
Cherio comes up just at the very end, but like I said, Clocked In forces Danzy to walk to them. That is, I count exactly 4,000 archers on the Titan room, so Clocked In have all the space they need. That's game 1.
It was just 3,900 too many for them to deal with. With that, Clocked In will be able to secure it, but at the very least, Dan's got another chance. We still got a set to talk about.
but Clocked In looked so good in that game, and especially
Yeah,
when
man.
you had some crazy haymaker picks. The Hou jungle was able to make a lot happen in the early game. The Jormungandr was able to be just enough of an annoyance to make up for the fact that it lacked the CC. I think overall Clocked In looking really, really good game one.
If you take off Scream to start things off, all those Helms of Radiance start to feel real good in that moment. And I gotta say, if you're a Clocked In fan, you're probably feeling pretty fresh yourself. But we got to get into the next fresh game, unpack, unwrap a new case of Smite Prime for you. To get into that, though, we're going to have to hop to a short little break, so don't you dare go anywhere. More action after this. Hello, everyone, and welcome on back to Smite Prime. September Circuit Week 2 Grand Finals, where the plays are indeed always premium. I'm D-Lo here, your hostess with the mostest to cast all the madness, alongside in the booth my friend Musy right here, and on the pitch himself, making sure to get the up-close and personal view of those last few fights. Tess and the Morton Man, your almighty eyes in the sky, making sure to get the optimal angles. And Jithens and basically Billy, as always, your men behind the curtain. Musy, that was a pretty interesting game one we got to see there. It's a best of 3 sets, so we still got another chance there for Danzy, but Clocked In made it work. What happened?
I'll tell you what happened. They were able to pull out some nonsense pick and make it work, and I swear to you by anything that will listen to me, Princess Bari Jungle is just not it. I don't see the vision. Maybe there's some, maybe our... I don't see it.
Check that prescription,
I don't see it. I just got these recently updated too. I got the UV blue tint, anti-scratch, and through all that, this Princess Bari Jungle just is not doing it for me, man.
Go to the optometrist, like, I need you to get me glasses that can make me see what's so good about Bari Jungle, and they say, okay, cool. Who's Bari and what are you doing here?
Which one's blurrier, actually... the 1 or the 2?
They're like, this is actually a Subway, sir. You need to leave. It's like, sorry. Prescription's been rough. Oh, nonetheless, Danzy...
Sir, this is a Walgreens.
Danzy did not go to the discount store when it came to the picks, aside from that Bari. They had some really solid tools. That Bellona, I thought, was going to have a lot more of an impact, especially compared to the Yorm. But I don't think it was the Yorm that won in the game. I think it was Happen. I think Happen genuinely carried from the support position. See it right there. Scream's dead. Who did it? Yemo.
Yeah, Happen was doing so much damage in the early game. The walls were on point. Those River's Rebuke were doing so much. I think we also maybe have to point out the fact that Danzy, with their team comp, opened up a lot of build possibilities for Clocked In, and they jumped on it. These Helms of Radiance were doing so much work, and especially because Scream wasn't able to reliably do the damage that we needed from them, it just meant that Clocked In didn't have to stress out about them too much. I think Karmic on this Yorm pick, a little lackluster. Definitely not the star of the show. A background character, if you will, but still a lot of value. They're a lane bully. They bullied the Bellona in lane, but Bellona's also a lane bully. So both of these characters just kind of went, okay, what do we do in a team fight? And Cherio says, I have Eagles Rally. What do you do? And Karmic says, I have Happen. So we win.
Crickets.
Yeah, it kind of
I was like, what do you got about that? It's just rough. Clocked In, playing through their support brilliantly. I do agree. Whoa, okay, all right, guys. That was me, honestly, when I saw the Yorm. I was the Yorm's actually been removed from the game, in fact. That I was so enthused about it that Karmic is just the god, apparently, himself.
When do I get to pick Karmic in my ranked games? And
I'm banning Karmic. What's
Karmic's ability? No, don't ban Karmic. They're so cool. What the heck?
I will say, I do... You're right, my bad, Karmic. You did your damage. At the very least, maybe like the mental damage you did to Cherry to prevent them from being at their best. Because I will say, Karmic was level 20 and Cherry was level 18. So even though you don't necessarily contribute that much in the team fight, maybe what you contribute is the fact that Cherry just couldn't reach their full potential since they're being bullied that entire time. Even if you're not actually doing those on-demand CCs, that Eagles Rally, you don't have that, but you still can make sure that Eagles Rally is a bit less impactful. That being said, I do agree. I'd rather see the Hercules. I'd rather see something that allows them a bit more team-oriented contributions instead of just kind of solo snack. P's and B's going to be coming up here. We get to see if that's the case, or maybe we change gears.
So again, I think we're gonna see the Achilles band from Danzy, but if I'm Danzy, I'm just sitting here going, this guy will play anything. Huh? What are you supposed to do about that? We always talk about Clocked In as the Paul team, right? Yeah, it's the Paul team. You know, it's got Paul. That's good enough for us. That's good enough for everybody. It's the Tagveer team, man. This player has been getting progressively better, and they were already very, very good. Let me make no mistake in any assumptions here. The problem with being very, very good on the same team as Paul is that you're being compared to, like, the GOAT of all time. The closest thing that we have to our own Faker. You have Paul. So how do you deal with the fact that you're going to be the runner-up inside that shadow? You just get bigger and be the big, scary shadow, the guard dog that stands behind them, kind of like, you want to go? You want to ask me that question? Because I will get you. So already, you need to start thinking about how you're going to play around this jungler. Are you going to ban Hou Yi and Achilles? What is that going to leave you, Dancy? It's going to leave you open to so many stressful picks that you have to go up against. And there's still picks like the Hunbots that are in the back pocket. A Wukong that could be picked up for Clocked In if they wanted. And instead, Karmic is going to be able to flex over to that Hercules pick. So if you're Dancy, you're really starting to think of how can we reshuffle our picks here, because clearly whatever we were doing before just did not quite work.
They banned the Yemo. They know exactly what they realize is the great threat. I love that. I appreciate that because sometimes supports go under the radar, right? They say, oh, the support's not the issue. It's like whoever's getting like the highest amount of kills on the slash lines. No, they know. They saw the player damage charts too. They said Happen is a bit insane. Press T to see the good players. It's literally all Yemoja across the board. Ullr gonna be banned away alongside that Ares, so we're seeing quite a bit of support. They did what you asked, Musi. They took away the Hou Yi. Achilles left on the board.
Yeah, Achilles, do you first pick it here? Or do you find yourself the Hecate? Because here's the thing. You pick Hecate, Clocked In finds Achilles. You pick Achilles, Clocked In find Hecate. I think first pick is cooked these days. Like,
it really is.
I don't think you want first pick at all in a million years. Unless you're really, really, like, hell-bent on a first pick Scylla support. Oh, nah.
Disagree.
Oh, I don't like that at all. You're gonna give him Hecate and Achilles? That's insanity to me. I don't know how I feel about that.
Baron Samity is clearly giving them hysteria or something. They're sipping a bit too much of that brew, Musi. They're sipping a bit too much. They're dipping in the bottom of the bottle.
Off the brew.
For real, bro. They are leaning hard onto that. Clocked In, going to go with Sun Wukong. Okay, a bit of a...
Oh, and Jing Wei!
They didn't ban Jing Wei. Oh my god. First pick is cooked. First pick is so cooked, dude. Holy crap. This is so rough. Musi, we're getting a strong forecast of Jing Wei. Where are you going to see that on the mini-map?
So, if you're going to actually want to see this on the other side. So if you can see here, there's a big collection of Jing Wei flying down all the way through, down through here around this first tower. You're going to see them show up. It's going to be that rotation over to the Gold Fury as well. Meanwhile, over there in the mid lane, there's a high chance of Ratatouilles in any build that you want to be able to pick up. A high chance of precipitation as both teams are going to attempt to make it rain, especially around this, Firebrand's camp over here and this over here. A little bit of a cold front coming in from the Danzy side and Arama as well. I'm ending the bit, Dilo. What is happening with these picks?
Okay, Ram is crazy. What's going on here, dude? Okay. No, I got nothing. I don't know. Ram has not been meta for so long. Ram has never been meta, I don't believe, in Smite 2's entire inception. That god has just been relegated to the bench, but... The fifth avatar of Vishnu is going to try to step up and see what they can do. There's no Demon King of Lanka to step up against. Instead, it's the Demon Pigtail Girl, Jing Wei. Even scarier than any Demon King you've faced before. Same with the giant maw of that looming crocodile. Sobek joins the squad.
I was about to ask, did they do another, handshake fearless scenario here? Because I saw the Sobek pick, but no. Hecate, that'll confirm it for Paul there, so it's good on that front. But you have a Jing Wei Sobek, this Happen god, not going to be that backline support that we like seeing them go towards. Instead, it's a very aggressive pluck and destroy pick with this Sobek. And I really like what Sobek and Hecate can do together because Sobek is so... aggressive, and one of the big flaws of the god is that when you pluck in the late game, you put yourself out of position to maybe get a kill, maybe get a beads, get something, but at the end of the day, you're in a tough spot. Hecate offers you a magical shield that's going to be very handy, especially up against the 3 magical gods we see lined up for Dancy so far. So I like that as a combination for Clocked In.
I wanted the
I know.
Ra, because then you get the
You
Ra
wanted
and
the
the
Ra.
Rom, and yeah, because it's like the big snipe ability is fun.
Rom.
But no, not Hoorah, Rom. Hunbots. Hunbots. That's pretty good. Susano back from the grave. Okay.
Susano.
Lots to talk
And
about
not
here. What you
Achilles.
got?
So
I don't
it's
like
interesting to see Susano and not Achilles, just because Achilles was doing so much. But I wonder
understand why.
if you can't run the Achilles against something like a Rama Agni, when you have the cripples and the stuns. Maybe it's a little bit difficult for him to cross that distance. So not a risk they're willing to take, but still a fair amount of kill potential, even though Susano lacks that big ultimate that they're able to shoot off
Yeah.
right away with the knockup. Like, you have to remember that nerf came through, you have to charge it all the way up in order to get the knockup. So
Yeah.
you're playing with a couple extra seconds of just stressing out instead of being able to, like, 1v1 somebody down. But maybe the goal here is more of a team fight oriented Susano, where you're coming in from a left or right angle, that off angle with the ultimate, maybe looking just straight for the back line instead of looking for those 1v1 scenarios. Kind of similar to how you would play a Hunbots, where you're looking for that ult engage to really find a lot of that damage. But all in all, I'm really curious to see how these things shuffle down. A sickening pit is forming in my stomach, because even though I see this Hunbots, is Scream playing the Hunbots, or is he playing something else?
Rom Jungle coming at you in just a moment as we hop in a game. Danzy and Clocked In. Potentially the last one we'll see for the day if Clocked In can take
Okay.
it. Okay. I looked as well with anticipation. All right, Musi, we got 2 compositions here. What is their identity? What is each composition trying to accomplish?
So Clocked In, we talked a bit about the Sobek being the focal point here, looking for plucks, looking for setup, Tegvir playing off that off angle, and Paul should have some long range damage. It feels kind of like a, almost like a front to back type of play style, where Tegvir and Happer are going to be playing together, or rather, Paul or Tegvir and Karmic are going to be playing together, whereas Happen should be hanging around next to Paul and Hydrogen, either offering some peel or moving up with Karmic and Tegvir to get a pluck off. But beyond that, you have Danzy, who has this Fear No Evil and a lot of frontline, be it either from Cherio or Bobby kind of inbound with the Scylla pick. She'll be able to tank some damage, but she's up there not to take damage, but more to be annoying and try to root people in. Not again, dude.
I've seen this
again.
movie before. Karmic also sees it, decides to fast forward. They're just gonna instantly go beneath tower.
And if you want to talk a little bit about the Ymir versus Sun Wukong matchup, again, Sun Wukong doesn't have to fight anybody.
Nice.
Because they have the cudgel. Karmic will be able to confirm their own blue. That's good. But Ymir is very strong in the early game, especially because of their passive, being able to get more damage off with the glacial strikes, really just trying to bully somebody out. So as long as Karmic is able to get through those first couple levels without having to worry about too much, should be okay.
Karmic did use those beads to shrug off the slow earlier, which is actually really smart because no one understands how strong frostbitten autos are at level 1. They do double damage. At level 1, that is everything for you. So very wise to make sure to back off. And like you said, Karmic, they know, I don't have to fight you. I don't plan to fight you. I'm staying safe. I'm staying alive. Can the Sobek say the same? Good cripple, but no dash to even cripple in the first place. Tegvir is present, but Happen's already dead. That's going to be the first one going down instead of Danzy. Might look for a second too. The body blocks are good enough, and inbound stays up and takes the kill on Tegvir. 2 in the duo for Danzy.
Takes the kill on Tegvir. Takes the kill on Tegvir. Dilo, why is Tegvir
Is
in the duo
Tegvir's...
lane?
Is...
Why is Hydrogen
What?
with the jungle starter? Some questions being asked here. It looks like Tegvir and Hydrogen have swapped. This Jingwei is going to be opting for that shotgun Jingwei build, looking to really shred down objectives and camps, farms very efficiently, but Tegvir not in the jungle is not having your aces in their places.
Dude, it literally fooled production. Tess just hastily moved Hydrogen's role to match screen. No idea. Oh, that's so funny. Everyone's like scrambling. Like, well, guys, what do we do? Hydrogen's not where they're supposed to be. Neither is Scream. They got to leap back to safety to make sure that they don't go on the kill board too.
So what does Susano ADC do?
Die in this case. Or
Clear
last
wave,
case.
die a little bit. I mean, you're able to put
Whoa,
beads there.
nice
Happen
cripple.
takes a bunch of poke.
They don't have charge prey either. If they decide to aggress, that could be relatively dangerous. Tagveer, what do? You pull them in and then dash away, I guess? Get the sickening strike off there, but that sickening pit forming in your stomach, it's looking a lot worse if Happen has that big chunk taken out of their health bar. This left lane is already starting to show to me that maybe Rom is the best god in the game. Who knows?
Maybe. I don't like this switch with Susanoo and Dual Lane. I really am trying to come up with reasons, trying to self-explain to me what makes it appealing. And I'm not seeing it. I'm really not. In fact, Jingwei's dead. Or that's not Jingwei, that's Paul! Wow.
Who is who in
Paul
this
is
dang
dead.
game?
I don't know what's going on! Everything's topsy-turvy in this upside-down world! But the Susanoo isn't gonna have the strength of the mobility, have the strength of being able to make rotations. They're just stuck. And a Susanoo that's stuck, a wind that can't blow, it's just dead air.
Scream's got ult. This is trouble. Level 4 here for Happen and Tagveer. But it's 2v3, some of the numbers advantage is enough. No, it looks like Hydrogen's present for the scene. Great pre-beads of that totem. Knows exactly what's about to happen. The airstrike does good damage, but doesn't get the good kill onto Scream. They stay up. Maybe the purple buff can finish the job. Happens, staying around. Eats the crush in favor of the sickening strike. It's a good invade there from Danzy. No kill, but that's okay. Purple's just fine by us.
Ymir ultimate, Woo 1 and
Not
Woo
enough.
2 and Woo 3. All band together to take down Cherio in the solo lane. Looks like Karmic will be able to have their leg up and moving swiftly to their Devos.
Power of friendship conquers all. Truly a lesson that you can learn from anime and from Smite too. But 4 minutes in, it's
Apes
been a
together
good amount
strong.
of flurry and bingo. Yeah, exactly. Does seem that Danzy though are winning the war for the Planet of the Apes so far, 3-1 in their favor. 5 minutes in, just about. And already a 1,000 gold lead. Can we expound further on it? Well, that open the gate says absolutely not. Stay off my Paul. But maybe stay on my dual lane. A good toss there. Cyclone not able to rise to the sky. Tagveer answers the question of what can you do? Wait. What a great Typhoon placed right at the feet of the Ava Monster. A nice snap up there from the Sobek and a bit of extra health for Happen.
Well, at least they'll be able to get some gold flowing over in that dual lane for Clocked In, especially since they had a bit of a rough start at the beginning. I'm not gonna lie to you, D'Lo. I think Clocked In at this stage, or with this composition, is really just playing for that late game yet again. Because aside from that kill that we saw in dual lane, I don't believe Cyclone and Bobby should be dying too much aside from that, unless, of course, you know, you have a gank come in from Hydrogen, you know, come to visit home after being away on a journey for so long. Speaking of journeys, journeying around these fire blades.
Airstrike takes him up to the sky. Think they fly first class? Jingwei might need to go sit and coach instead. No, it's Scream who's actually taking a backseat. Paul quickly changes their ticket, rearranges it for right back to base.
Wukong goes up and comes down. Wu 2 chases after Cherio. Not a whole lot to be found.
You're pinned
there,
down.
But
We have you surrounded. Oh, wait,
we got
hold
you
on.
surrounded.
Might be the actual case there for Paul. I'm a monster. Is going to try
Goes
to
with it.
pursue them to the ends of the earth. Benny Q takes quite a bit of damage as well. Paul's an understandable target to try to take down, but it's a rather slippery slope to walk down. Do we look for this Akate? How do we put her down if so?
So, if this Susanoo was in the jungle, I would talk about how, or not Susanoo in the jungle, excuse me. I got the things mixed up. You have this Hunbatsu who has the ability to chase after this Akate with, you know, the monkey teleport. Uh-oh. You're good.
Inbound.
Are you good?
Okay.
A little stressed.
Cyclone mirror stress for you as well. That pre-beats is going to be able to shrug off the knockup, but Sobek might have reason to continue to pursue. Nope, they decide to take the damage they already dished out and just walk on back. Continue what you're saying, Muse. What you got?
Yeah, well, 100%. I would say you do want to try to keep on the Sakate as much as you possibly can. You have the means to do it. You know, Benny Q has chase potential, but the Agni Bomb, Scream can teleport on top of the Akate, chase them through there, open the gates. You have to be willing to be a little dangerous about it, but definitely worth trying to keep Paul in check or put more pressure in this dual lane. It's weird, a funky dual lane, but if you can keep Clocked In off balance, that would be something, or that would be a route you could take to make that happen. Deal, I'm not gonna lie to you. We've been here for like 7 minutes so far. I'm still squinting at the Susano because look at their build. Learning Bow, Warrior's Axe. What is the goal? Do you look for the Learning Bow proc? Is Tegvir just obsessed with Learning Bow? Is this the item of all time? Or is this flavor of the week? What's happening?
I'm going to use that $7,000 in cash to buy a real Learning Bow. That's what Tegvir has got their eyes set on. Cherio's got their eye on the base, trying to get back there. Wu 1 and Wu 2 focus on the minion wave while they leave the rest of the damage, maybe up to the Jing Wei. Karmic able to pursue through that tower. And Hydrogen will be able to finish off the kill. Jing Wei jungle, didn't get to talk about that much since we last saw it from Sunprod a week ago, since it's been banned so frequently since. But it's doing pretty well so far. Unfortunately, the Ox not going to be able to get you too far. Scream butchers it for the slaughter. 1-for-1 across the map in the solo.
So Jing Wei jungle, what she does is just a ridiculous amount of damage to objectives, especially when you're able to have that Boomba's dagger and then the, shotgun Jing Wei. Anybody that stands up to you in the jungle, be it a Gold Fury or a person, they just kind of get blown away. Which is why Clockton is able to pull this Gold Fury right now, with minimal resources too. They just pull it, and then they get to have it, right? That's the benefit of this Jing Wei jungle. That is what she's going to be able to do best. It's just interesting that we didn't get a chance to see that sooner.
8 minutes is still, at the very least, something for you to even up the odds, because now we're seeing the gold lead quickly be sealed up. Danzy, we're up ahead, but with that first objective in pocket, now you don't really have a good case for it. 5-4 as well, so Clockton can feel good about that. And you also have got to take a look at just the output of pressure that this dual lane's got now. When it first started off, we were so worried, but it seems like Tegvir and Happen are starting to find a flow.
They do have a lot of CC between the two of them. You have the pluck, you have the other pluck. Pseudo pluck, not quite a pluck. Pluck by a different name. Cheerio is dead.
Whoa. Yeah, that rocket jump got a bit stalled out. The airstrike going to turn you to cinders. Good kill by Hydrogen.
Even if he got that rocket jump off too. Like, Hydrogen has the chase potential between alt and then dash after him. Little cooked there. Ymir is able to offer you quite a bit in terms of damage, in terms of CC, but his escape potential, yes, you have that new change here in Smite 2 where he's able to rocket jump himself, but it's still not quite enough to get away from very mobile characters like a Jing Wei or a Wukong.
Can inbound get away from Happen. No, the dash is down. What a great charge prey. Finds him at max range. Now inbound could be in trouble. Wind spray taken by the Storm Lord. I control the winds after all. Jing Wei present just to get the last snipe. Wow. Brilliant kill confirm. Kill secure, not steal. Thank you very much. Hydrogen will take that too. It's a 2v4 here, but the Hunbot's ult might equalize the odds. Happen's got to dash back to safety, but abandons Hydrogen as the cost. And the Monkey God will take it. Different Monkey God arrives to the scene, but that's just too much monkeying around for my taste, so the game's going to be paused real quick.
Jumped up and hit his head, unfortunately, it would seem. Well, here's something that I also think is worth touching on while we have this pause. One of the things that I'm not sure if I'm a big fan of with the switch of Tegvir being in the dual lane with the Susano is, all due respect, Hydrogen is not as good a jungler as Scream.
Yeah.
That is just how it is, right? That is the reality of the situation. Scream is going to be a better jungler than Hydrogen. It doesn't matter if they're playing a Jing Wei. It doesn't matter if they're on like a comfort pick. Scream's going to know the map better. They're going to know how to play it better than Hydrogen. So it feels like Clocked In is going to be a step behind in terms of things like rotations and everything like that, unless, of course, you've got Tegvir in a Discord call or wherever they're in. He's got the POV of Hydrogen, like, all right, cool, I'm watching you. You want to go here? You want to get this camp, pinging everything out? Like,
oh no! Mom called the doctor. The doctor said, no more monkeys jumping on the bed. Benny Q might be put down. Their flame extinguished by Paul, but Paul could be in trouble as well. Great Aegis. No stun. That's okay. The snipes finished the job. Cyclone spins him around, turns him right back to base. Sobek nearly gets hunted down as well, but that Croc, that Swamp Pumpy, won't be yoinked just yet.
Oh, that was a gutsy walk up from Happen there, knowing that Scream's in the bush. Definitely don't want to take that fight. But yeah, like I was saying before, I feel like what we're seeing right now is that Clocked In is not playing at their full potential because Tegvir is over in that dual lane. I would give so much to know what informed the decision like, to put him over there. Like, I know he played it in Founders, and it was good against Zapman there, but I still don't know if that's enough of a justification to make that switch. And it really feels like Donzi is capitalizing off of it.
Especially when you have all that momentum behind the Hercules. I'm not going to lie, I'm right there with you. Yes, I actually, in that moment, was also recalling that he's done this before, the Susano ADC, but it's not as successful off the back of a big nerf to the god in the first place. That's not great. But then also, you were operating so well before. And Hydrogen, my question is, yeah, not only are you as good as a jungler as Scream, but just are you a good jungler in general? Do you have those instincts as a Jing Wei to be able to operate in that new role? Inbound takes quite a bit of poke, and now see the fight around that mid. Hydrogen's got it back on up, and Sobek lurking waters on forward. They quickly decide better up.
Inbound gets plucked in. There's the ult from the Susanoo. Get in, get out. Finds the kill on top of Inbound. Didn't even charge up the ultimate all the way, so they weren't looking for that knock-up. It was just the damage that they wanted. So it's enough to put the Scylla down right in time as Gold Fury will respawn. But still, like, Cyclone Spin is still a little bit further ahead than Tegvir in terms of farm. And once we hit these later game fights, I guess there'll be a little bit of a shuffling, but you really bank it on hitting that 20-minute mark if you're clocked in.
So actually, Musi, that does beg the question. You talked earlier about where everyone's positioned in a clocked-in fight. Is that changed when you have Susano ADC? Do they stand in different spots as Danzy begin to stance around the Gold Fury?
When it comes to your positioning, Clockton just snuck a Pyromancer off from Danzy's nose, by the way. That's crazy. You're still looking for off angles. You're still playing Susano, and you're still building like an assassin, right? That game plan doesn't change too much. And same thing for Hydrogen. They're going to be, you know, moving either in the backline or like a mid position just to try to get their auto attack damage off. That 5v5 game plan does not change. It's just getting to that 5v5 where you have a bit of growing pains and being able to know how to play that map. So this is Dancy's opportunity to abuse that. I will say though, they have not been pushing that lead as hard as they could be.
Jingwei can easily return back thanks to that resurrection. That pass is going to come in real handy right now, but Tegvir's got to make the rotation on over. Remember, recall your jungler roots. There's an objective to be taken, and Danzy do not want to look for it. Instead, the fight is going to center around Cherio and Airstrike. Going to be what saves Hydrogen. No, we're trying to snipe that duck. We're going hunting, and Cyclone takes them down. Open the gates. Not going to find anyone, but Karmic gets burned away instead. Cherio finally falls. It's a 1-for-2 in favor of Danzy, and now they can look back at the objective. Sobek still lurking around.
The Rama pick really showing up here for Danzy. Clocked in, still in the area. In goes the Sobek.
Can they get an execute? No, instead they can just get safety for themselves. Sikkim Crush combo onto Tegvir. Doesn't do too much damage, but dissuades them from further combat. Great! Dispel Magic keeps the Sobek alive for a bit longer. Just enough time for Cyclone to get that objective still. Right in happens phase 2 before the Croc finally gets put down. Scream going to be able to steal away one more purple before maybe looking for Tegvir. Stay a while, why don't you? Pulls him right back in. The Typhoon comes sweeping through, and Scream is dodging these autos with all they have. Can't find the final one, though. Hydrogen is going to be able to finally take down the jungle, but now Inbound's in danger instead. The Wind Sprite doesn't expire quickly enough to keep them out of harm's way. Paul's going to take your life. It's just a matter of how painful you want it to be.
It's not a matter of if, it's only a matter of when. And another messy fight, but ultimately this will benefit Danzy as they walk away with that gold free, like you said, but also a fair amount of kills. The gold lead will start pulling away in their direction. We've been talking so much, I think, about what Tegvir has been doing with the Susanoo pick, the implications, and what it means all for Clocked In. I want to shift that focus a bit over towards Danzy. And really check in with how they've been doing so far. And Cherio is having that classic Cherio experience of just kind of having a lot of deaths in that lane, but we can expect this Ymir to show up later in the game for sure. But Scream, I think, is really starting to show the fact that this is what happens when you have him up against a jungler that cannot move like he can, right? 2 levels up, got a lot of assists, got a couple of kills, being impactful across the map, and still hungry and looking for more. And this Rama pick, I think what it does for Danzy is have that chase potential. When Hydrogen tries to ult away, when anybody tries to disengage, you put that Rama in the air, and those shots are going to go out.
Fear No Evil's been so impactful so far. This fight's no different. Open the gates from Paul, trying to take that TP if they need it. Little safety cushion. What a great pluck there, but unfortunately Paul was not ready because they were taking that fun portal slide right back near that tower. So unfortunately, no kill on inbound will be had.
BennyQ's going to be left to defend against this Pyromancer. Clocked In are grouped up around to take a look at it. And like you said before, this Fear No Evil, very impactful, but it's down for this next engagement. Pyromancer's down to half.
Cherio's got the Wind Sprite potentially to take on over. Sobek had warned them, so they decide to unleash CC immunity for a little bit of time, but Cherio's still quite in a bit of trouble. So Execute online. It's not a matter of if, it's when. Happen takes their life, but Paul was abandoned in the back. That's a trade they're willing to make, and now the crush right down beneath you. Sick 'em, boys. Scream will oblige. Happen will fall. The Aegis is going to be used down beneath, but BennyQ still can't stay safe. Tegvir slices that off their head. Now having to come right back down from the Snipe. Cyclones in quite a spot of bother. The Typhoon going to weather the winds, but you can't take the rain of damage that comes on after. Karmic will take them down. It's a 4-for-2 for Clocked In.
That fight started off so good for Danzy there, but unfortunately, the reinforcements had arrived from Clocked In, and so much was put into Paul and Happen to kill them. It felt like Danzy just didn't have the gas left in the tank to respond to the reinforcements as they came in. Karmic on the Sun Wukong, especially when you have the aspect, just gives so much CC, and as good as Cyclone Spin is going to be at isolating single targets, and even with those Astra Arrows tearing through some people, when you have a Wu 2 and a Wu 3 running at you as well, you kind of have a moment of like, which one am I supposed to shoot?
Yeah.
Man? And unfortunately, Cyclospin doesn't have their items online. In fact, they have this Berserker Shield instead of any kind of penetration yet. So these tanks are going to be able to walk at this Rama until we get something like a Titan's Bane online, or even an Executioner, please, pretty much anything. Then they'll be effective. Then they'll be able to take a look at Happen or Karmic in a way that really threatens them. But until that moment, Rama just gets run at by a Wukong, and they're going to end up dying.
2 minutes ago, Danzy's up 4,000 gold. 18 minutes into this game, 12-16, now Clocked In have completely equalized things. You don't need to be the best jungler on the block, you just need to have the rest of the team keep up, and so far they are meeting that requirement. Clocked In are doing a really good job when they coalesce together, and I gotta say, even though there's still question marks around its viability in the current landscape of the meta, Tegvir 3-1 on the Susano, it's starting to work.
I mean, and the reason why it's starting to work is because we're getting more and more deeper into that late game, where the Susano is not worried about laning. They're not worried about what they do in just dual lane. It's cool. How do I impact a team fight? How do I get into these 5v5s and really start to look for off angles and ultimates, everything like that? Once we start to shift to that type of mindset where the game becomes playing around fire giants and towers and titans, then the Susano pick really just slots into place, because it's going to do so much more in the map as a whole, as opposed to just pinning it down in that dual lane.
Speaking of, dual lane's a bit vacant, despite the fact that a Gold Fairy is up and available. We talked so far about how Clocked In, they are centered really around the engagement style of Sobek. Danzy, a lot of times their fights are starting off with the Fear No Evil. Is that where it's best placed, Musi? Do you want to see it kind of saved in the fight, or is it best as the engage?
I would rather a Fear No Evil show up in the middle of a fight. Show up after we pull some beads with Cherio, or if Inbound is able to force something with the Cripple Root. Like, that's going to give it the most amount of effectiveness, right? Unless you have another big CC to follow up with after that Fear No Evil, to be able to say, cool, all right, all their beads are down, now we can go in. Which I don't really see too much from the side of Danzy. There's nothing on that team comp that screams, this is a great follow-up after Fear No Evil, except for the Fear No Evil that I'm looking at. Then you want to have it show up in the middle of that fight. You just need to be able to pull some resources first.
Spectral Bot here by Cherio is actually very impactful when you're fighting against Hydrogen, but Hydrogen's too busy looking at Inbound and licking their chops. Hoping the gate's gonna bring back in Happen to safer happenings. Inbound's on the flee, but instead they're just going to be dead. As a nice kills followed up there, Hydrogen and Tegvir do the fusion dance and 2-tap on the corpse.
Down they go. Cyclone's going to pick a fight with Karmic, but Scream makes a rotation here. There's the beads pulled from that Fear No Evil. Up in the air is the Wukong.
Yeah, second health bar. Don't even really need it, just more like second escape, rather. And it's going to be successful.
Yeah.
Hydrogen, though, maybe staying past their welcome. Cherio starts to wind around. They go right in. They want Cyclone Spin.
Whoa,
A great airstrike, but
bam!
not too much damage. Techveer's on the way as well. The jungler and the carry. Which one is which? It doesn't matter. They can both kill you. Great Breebees of the freeze. Scream now on ice instead. The pluck gets them off their back. That last night means an awful lot, but Cyclone's got too much pressure. They need the new prescription now. They can't see anything but black. They're dead. The triple freeze does not matter because Cherio is a foregone conclusion. What a fight by Clocked In.
I really love the way that Hydrogen just threw down that Whirlwind Gust right on top of where Rama was going to come down, just all but confirmed Cyclone Spin's life, and Techveer weaving in and out of the damage, barely walks away with their own life. Just makes it so that it's all the sweeter for Clocked In, as Karmic is forced to get away. I think he's dead.
This might be one last Sikkim. Finishes the job. Benny Q finally gets something for the rest of the team. Benny Q, though, quickly has got to keep arms and legs inside the vehicle. They're taken for a ride. A hot dash back to safety. The Typhoon barely not able to find them. I'm a Monster joins hands with Techveer to try to finish the job on each of these members. But it's going to be Techveer now still in trouble, able to dodge the Sikkim and the Crush. Now you're the one in trouble inbound. Get over here.
You are down for the count. As Clocked In, they lose Karmic in the process, but they'll be able to shift their attentions over to bigger sites as Scream jumps in.
To open the gates is going to buy a bit of space. Pyromancer secured, actually, for Clocked In, and now Scream might be up next. No stun, no fun, no Hun. They're dead too.
They avoided the Fear No Evil by slipping through that opened the gates, and then Paul also caught Scream with the kill there. It's just kind of ridiculous. Clocked In, now that we've gotten to the later stages of the game, now that we're playing back together again as 5, in a sense that we are used to seeing them, the aces are back in their places, and Donzi feels just so scattered sometimes. It feels like Clocked In is just a bit more coordinated.
I want to throw a lot of credit to Happen for doing exactly what you asked as another Gold Fury goes down, second pip in pocket. They are finding these plucks. They are getting these engages. Hydrogen is finding these 1v1s. Rather, Karmic was there for a bit of moral support, but another kill on a Cyclone Spin. Cherio, I don't know what you're doing so deep in my jungle. What are you doing in my swamp, buddy? Well, you're quickly going to be taking a drown in the mud in just a second. Yeah, he's dead.
Yeah. Down for the count. Again, Donzi is so split up all the time, whereas Clocked In moves as a unit across this map. Everybody's always got their battle buddy. Like, and if you don't have a battle buddy, it's because you're a Jing Wei with the ability to get away from everybody, right? Like, you're not too stressed out about it. 2 minutes left for Clocked In's Fire Giant. They can start looking at things like towers. There's still a lot left on the map, and picking up that gold is only going to further expound the gold lead that Clocked In have.
24 minutes, 24 kills. It's always good when you can see the time matches the deaths. 73,000 means about 7K ahead. 8K, in fact. Thank you very much there, Mortsky. And that just means that Clocked In can leverage his advantage through items, through pressure, through structures, too. Looking at this mid-bird, the pluck's off the mark. Uncharacteristic from Happen, but not going to be punished all that hard. Might be a different story on top of Karmic. They got to take to the skies and just barely survive.
That was too close for Karmic there. And again, one of the problems with Sobek is that you go in. Oh, they got walled off.
Oh, open the gates. Luckily able to save them. Brings back in Scream. Fear No Evil does not find anyone, but the rest of Clocked In have already left the fight. Hydrogen's already farming in the left side, but the rest of the members needed to stick around to provide a bit of backup to one of your prime players. Now it could be Happen who's next put up on a spit. Great Sikkim Crush combo. They're walled off and brought down.
Susanoo tears through the rest of Tanzi, but just not quite enough there. Finally, you have this penetration available for Cyclone Spin 2. So once this Rama is able to connect on top of the Sobek, they are pretty much shredded away and dead. But that's so tragic for Clocked In. Right as we're talking about, oh yeah, you know, Clocked In, move as a unit. They're kind of deathballing. It's working out for them. They scatter once and then they die, right? Like, if I've learned it, oh
no, Scream.
God.
Okay, Scream, you might be a better jungler. It does not mean that you're a better 1v1er. Hydrogen robs him of his air.
Call that a 1v1? That's a 1 versus nothing. I don't think the Bonebats had a chance to do anything about that. That wasn't a fight. That was something else. That was terrifying, right? Ay caramba. There was a Hunbats there. You kidding me? Shotgun Jingwei, everybody. Hydra's Lament, Deathbringer, Crit, Musashi's, because we don't need attack speed where we're going. You only need the 3 shots. And it's no mistake why Hydrogen is sitting 9-2 here. Just does so much damage to anybody who's unfortunate enough to stand in front of her.
Yeah, I think I heard the Doom theme play. Just picks up the sawed off and just starts staring down that barrel. That does not feel good one bit. Scream really had a lot of confidence that was
The only thing we fear is
misplaced.
Hydrogen.
Honestly understandable. You really should be looking for a Magis maybe to help you out with that. There's not too much hard CC from Clocked In, but when it hits, it hits.
Yeah, that is for sure. Fire Giant's going to be respawning soon. Same deal with the Ancient Gold Fury. So we could expect some scuffles around these OBJs. And with that too, talking about who's going to have a leg up around this Fire Giant, I'm honestly looking at Clocked In. They've got the Jingwei with that Bombus Spear, so they have so much objective shred, the ability to tear down this Fire Giant incredibly quickly. Or even a Pyromancer too. And their team fight is still really strong as well, especially because Tagveer has been able to weave in and out and find these off angles that they've really been searching for. And just find crazy ultimates. Charge it all the way up. Ain't no thing.
Scream is searching for himself in the left lane. He's doing that thing where you have midlife crisis or mid-death
Soul
crisis. And you
searching.
just need, yeah, you just need to go across the coast to reflect on things, man. I just get
Vegeta
triple
standing in
barreled
the
by a
rain,
Jingwei.
like,
Just staring
I
up,
wanna be a
man.
Super Saiyan.
I want to be a Jingwei too when I grow up. Well, maybe next game, buddy, if there is one. FG could decide it. Brought down to
6K.
half already. Inbound is present. CC immunity,
drop it.
they're worn off from
Oh,
Cherio.
nice.
They decide to look for the greater fight instead. Decent poke being actually applied here to Clocked In. Happen and Karmic both suffering some battle scars. And Cherio really just about to be fine in a second. No one else on Danzy sporting any scars or marks. Benny Q finds good poke and able to retreat back. The Staff Slam does not find the mark. The Sun Wukong not able to find the poke, but at least Clocked In find the Pyro.
While Clocked In were on that FG, they back up and then show up just enough as if they're kind of like playing that game of footsie for the Fire Giant, because the Nagas were still on it. The Fire Giant was still in play, and the whole time, Hydrogen with this Bomba Spear and 100 stacks of Devos, oh god, is able to just steal away that objective. Now they're going to be moving over towards that Ancient Gold Fury, which is a little bit scary. Oh no, they're just grabbing their purple buff and backing. I thought for a moment maybe Jingwei could solo gold. They definitely can, especially now that they have an Avatar's Parashu. My lord.
Big. Quite big,
Big
in fact,
way.
is the fact that Cherio able to stay alive. But can we actually get anything off? Once again, Scream is just soul-searching left side. But you know, this is what Scream also does. If they don't feel like they're useful in a fight or that a fight's not about to happen expeditiously, they're going to split push down. The issue is you have a tier 2 staring at you before you can even get to the juicy meat beneath, which is that Phoenix. And Clocked In probably know it. They certainly do now. They can begin to rip the FG at a moment's notice if they so please.
And the thing is, too, Jingwei can go out and re-push out those left side minions so that the tower isn't under threat. Because she has that passive to get back to the rest of her team on that FG pit, you can send her out as many times as Scream goes out. But Scream does not have that benefit of movement to make it back to the team. So it's really on Hydrogen just to play guard dog. Go out there, clear a minion wave, back, go back out to your team. Play this game of footsie every now and then. But the real catalyst, the real trigger for Clocked In is when this Jingwei decides to commit to the FG pull. Because she is going to be the largest source of damage that Clocked In has to clear it.
Seems it's going to be right now is the time, and Scream's not present. They know it as well. Minions pushed up,
Oh,
and
Betty Q.
that's going to be trouble for you. Already CC immunity warned by both the solo melee members. Inbound's knocked up, but not put away just yet. FG at half, and Inbound has no dash. Benny Q's poked out as well. Scream's finally starting to make their way on over, but you're only going to find ashes and cinders where the pit once stood. FG taken by all 5 members. Cherio's in quite a bit of trouble. Inbound's got to go. Cherio's the first one to fall. Paul will have their head. A crush placed down just to dissuade any further pursuit. But it does not matter. Clocked In say it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Scream was off to the side, not even a part of that fight. Now they're getting chased out and down towards their Phoenixes. Mid Phoenix is the only one that's up for Clocked In to take, but if they can get enough picks, they don't have to worry about those towers.
Noxious Fumes only chewed through the Magi's Blessing. That's the call. They say there's no massive CC circle coming through, so we just eat that mid-bird up nice and easy. What's next up on the menu? Second course is going to be that tier 2 tower, and dessert might just be the left bird.
Ancient Gold Fury is available if Clocked In want to take that step back and really play it safe. There's also still that tier 2 tower on the right side, and honestly, that's going to be what you want to go for, just because you don't want to rush headlong into danger. Cherio is going to be up soon, and there's still plenty on the map to clear up. Nagas, Fury, Pyromancer, that tower, and what is Danzi going to do to step up to you, right? It feels like Clocked In are just so far ahead now. They've got all their items online, big important power spikes. Paul has Obshard and Tahuti. So this Hecate is just slamming damage. I watched BennyQ lose half his health to Hecate just by existing in the same map as him. It is dangerous out there for anybody who isn't building prods. That's an Ancient Gold Fury for Danzi and the Naga as well.
Anytime BennyQ leaves Fountain, they're like, all right, BennyQ, make sure you have your battle buddy with you to keep you safe. Look both ways when you cross the street or enter the jungle. Well, yeah, honestly, just like strap him up in like 5 breastplates of Valors. Make sure he's like can't even move, but at least he stays safe. But there's no safety for Danzi in this moment. You look back at week 1, Musi Clocked In first round exits. Now they're on their way to a 2-game sweep at the grand finals. It's a great day to be a Clocked In fan.
It's a great day to be Tagveer. I am attributing a lot of these wins to Tagveer specifically, who has been showing up so much in previous games, in the game we just saw, and in this one right now. Clocked In are looking to group up on that left side. The left side Phoenix has that debuff on it, so maybe they can find their pick in.
Sunwoo gonna eat a bit of the flames. They say can handle that heat. Not really gonna burn me all too much. Great use of the ice wall to pop off that Magi's Blessing bubble. But are you blessed or are you cursed? That's a question soon to be decided by the lurking waters. Trying to find and execute on the Ymir, won't be obliged. Open the gates also, won't pull anyone in. That's okay. Pull them into Death's Embrace instead. Tagveer takes down Cherio to start things off. Cyclone spins up next on the mark. The Titan found the right Sunwoo to follow, so Karmic is going to be the sacrifice for Clocked In. Might not be enough, though, to stop them from continuing to rock down this Titan. They step in the throne room, but Happen takes quite a bit of damage. Looks like they're going to have to wait a little bit for now.
Scream still has the Fear
Never
No Evil
mind.
available. That's not going to help BennyQ, though. Not enough breastplates for you, pal.
The Sikkim was off the mark by just a hair, and Inbound with that has lost their chance to kill Tagveer. The Titan's going to start to go down, but here comes the Fear No Evil, instantly put back in your place. Tagveer drops down the monkey, is divine in this game. Open the gates, comes right back up. Inbound's able to dodge around it, but it's not a matter of if. It's a matter of when. How do you survive this open combat? You're pulled right back out of your fountain. Get over here, they say, and watch as we take everything from you. Clocked In, sweep up grands.
It was a rough start for Clocked In there. A little bit confused in the beginning, especially near that dual lane. But, like I said, when you get to that 5v5, none of the past matters. Shotgun Jing Wei, the Susano as well, everything clicked into place, and Danzi was just not able to keep up with the aggression that Clocked In had.
Yikes, man. Yikes, Clocked In, right? Like again, I'm gonna say it again. Last week, they were at the bottom. Now they are at the peak. They're looking down. Round 1, up against a team that you would not expect it from either. Unforgettable Dance. This go around, they are reestablishing pecking order. I'm telling you, they are saying this is the hierarchy. We are the big dogs. We are the guard dogs. We are the ones who watch. We are the ones who knock. We are the danger. Woof. And woof to unfortunately watch a powerhouse like Danzi go down like that. But nonetheless, we got a lot to break down, and we're going to get right into it. So get out your spoons, get out your forks. We got some meat to dive on into. Only, though, after the break. Stick around. More Smite Prime action after this. Hello, everyone, and welcome on back to Smite Prime, where the plays are always premium here. And we just got to see the peak, the pinnacle. Now they stand so lonely at the top. It's going to be our friends on Clocked In who take it all in 2 short games. I'm D'Lo, your host with the mostest. Joined with me here in the booth is my friend Musi by my side, at least when he appears. We got our friends Tess and the Morton Man, Almighty Eyes in the Sky, keeping the prod lights on, and Musi in the corner. Jithins as well. What did y'all do to him? What did...
Whoa.
Okay, whoa. Popped out of the warp pipe there. Broop, broop, broop. Welcome back, Muse.
broop, broop.
We got Jithens
We're
and
back. Hey,
basically
what's going
Billy. Also, you've been behind the curtain. Musey, while you were down there, did you see why our friends on Danzy lost?
Yeah, I was looking down there. I was trying to pick up the pieces of, you know, kind of the game that fell apart there
Scream.
for Danzy. And I think honestly, when it came down to it, Danzy was not able to force a lead or extend their lead in time. A lot of what Clockton's game plan there was, and having the Hydrogen and Tagveer switch the roles as they did, was just get this Jingwei hyper farm, shotgun Jingwei, and Tagveer will be solid in the late game.
Yeah.
Just get him there. Just get to that 5v5. Cause some pressure, some harassment. And the early game didn't quite work out the way that Clockton was looking for. At least it didn't seem that way from, you know, our third perspective. But Danzy was not able to do anything with it. They weren't able to really force any kind of issue. They were just like, well, okay, I guess we're winning. Our game plan is also to get to the late game. No, it is not. It really was not. You did not want to have the game go on that long, because the longer the ball got to roll, the more and more Clockton started to look really, really good.
Dude, you know what my conclusion from all this is? First pick is so cooked. First pick is so cooked.
Super
Muzi.
cooked.
It's so cooked. They banned away emoji.
I don't want first pick again in my life.
Like, like, get that away from me. It's like vegetables. You're like, yeah, get that off my plate. Broccoli with a side of first pick.
Ugh.
Yeah, no. I'd rather not. Thank you very much. And like, you know, man, there's elements of this that looked great. I think Cyclone had some pretty solid plays in the ROM. Scream, I think, actually did have really great, impactful ultimates. Cherry, unfortunately, I think, kind of got into the mindset that, yeah, I'm just going to do the exact same thing. But, Musey, you've talked about this the entire time we've seen in Sun Wukong's heyday. I don't have to fight you. Karmic is the first person to have the humility to realize they don't need to win lane, just win game.
Like, when you're playing this Wukong, you're really just looking to hang out until it's your time to shine. Your time to shine is not in lane. Be it in Wukong, be it late game, a tank Wukong, it's not going to happen in lane. Where you really have your moment is when you cause a lot of disruption with your Ox form, Master's Will. You get those knockups going on. You're a big menace with your Ox form, just plowing through people. You've got your second health bar. You've got some poke you can lay down with your cudgel. That's late game. Wukong is a scaling pick through and through. So being able to recognize when you're at your strongest, I think Karmic is especially good at noticing that in his characters, be it either Wukong or Herc.
With this, Clockton now stands at a far better place when it comes to the seeding, and that puts them in a better position for those all-important prizes. We're talking $7,000, 7,000 smackaroonies, 7 bands, 7 racks in cash prizing, up to $125K in diamonds to buy all the Scylla trash skins that you need, like the one on screen right before you, and of course, all the glory, all of the cachet to your name of being a Smite Prime champ.
Got those titles, got the gems, or the diamonds, got the money. I mean, it's not about the money, Batman. It's about sending a message, like we said, but the money is very nice. It does, you know, hey, that's an argument in and of itself. We get a chance to see some of the replays for the rest of today. Tagveer causing havoc with this Achilles jungle pick. I can't wait to see that in every rank game I play from now until forever.
Lernian Bow, man, the greatest love Tagveer's ever seen. The one that got away, but not if you just have enough gold to make sure she always stays by your side in this case. Dest, unfortunately, turned back into dust, too. But this game was crazy. Let's talk more about like just the grand sweep of things. Something was in the water. Something's in the air. And it's causing these players to just get a bit friskier than you normally expect.
There was so much aggression in the Danzy versus 800 GPM game that ultimately panned out for Danzy because they were able to do something that they weren't really able to do in the games against Clockton, and that's find a lot of value after winning fights. So even though they were brawling so much, they were still coming out ahead in some aspect.
Man, it's unfortunate we didn't get to see the underdog teams also kind of have their heyday. Would have loved to see them kind of continue the line set before them to try to get to that top. But there's still plenty of weeks left, Musey. It's only week 2 here. But we're starting to see that seesaw tilt back to in favor of the old guard. at least of Smite Prime. These two teams have really been the ones to look at for as long as this circuit has been up since Smite 2 has kicked it off. Now we were starting to see these reestablishments of these empires, these dynasties that Danzy and Clocked In are trying to make sure no one can disrupt.
They're definitely going to be kind of the gatekeepers in a sense, where if you want to be able to hang, you want to be able to play ball, you got to be able to semi-reliably take a game off of these teams. And they are playing kind of a different game of Smite than everybody else is at this stage. Their mechanics, their map presence, their knowledge is just a little bit more, a little bit stronger, a little bit better. But I can see it. I can see the other teams starting to get there. They're starting to catch up. And because of that, Danzy and Clocked In, if you're either of these teams, you're still trying to stay on the grind. You're still trying to stay sharp, knowing full well that it will not take too much to fall down to some of these runner-up teams.
Muzi, I'm looking at all these replays and I'm seeing one commonality. I don't think Paul played anything but Hecate this entire day. I don't know if we didn't get to see every single game, but you know, if anything, history is going to repeat itself. Paul seems just really spins a wheel every day and decides, all right, I'm just going to make this one the new meta. Hecate was already great, but Paul just brings it to a new level of intimidating.
And it really feels like Paul, like you said, they just kind of spin a wheel, they pick something, and they rock with that. But it was Tagveer that was catching all the flack in the picks and bans and everything like that, where like Achilles got looked at, even Happen got looked at with that Yamoja ban, because every player has an implicit understanding. Whatever Paul wants to play, they're going to be able to play it, because you can't ban out Paul. There's no...
Yeah.
You just don't do it. It's not feasible. It doesn't get you anything.
Unfortunately, gets you just a few bruises on the cheek, but hopefully, you know, you can get some blush, cover that up, and come back rip-roaring, ready to go in the next week. Unfortunately, as far as this one goes, that is all we're going to have for you here today on Smite Prime September Circuit Week 2. I've been D'Lo, joined here by Muzi in the booth. We've, of course, had our good friends, our almighty eyes in the sky, Tess and the Morton Man, keeping the prod lights on and the cam steady. Please thank our production for all they do. We could not yell at games without them. Big thanks as well to Jithens and basically Billy, the men behind the curtain, keeping the social media running, as well as the entire tournament at large. And last, but certainly not least, thank you, loyal, obedient viewer, for your time. We hope you've enjoyed these series just as much as we have. Keep an eye to the sky for more Smite Prime content coming at you. Week 3, same time, same day, as well as the next Smite game streamer up on tap. Until then, good games and good night.